tusonyiwe oyo yenna yakoze kyasobodde okukola okuteekawo embeera enembi tumusonyiwe. Era mbadde nsaba omusumba agambe tukulu wa Yesu Kristo tumusonyiye.
Era n'akomekereza n'okusabira eggwanga liddemu emirembe ssaako n'empalana zikome mu bantu.
NTV akawungezi mu birala emirundi mingi abaana naddala ab'obuwala bafumbirwa nga bakyali bato oba okufuna embuto ze bateeyagalidde nga kiva ku butasoma. Omwana gy'akoma okulwa mu ssomero asobola bulungi okwewala ebizibu nga bino. Irene Namyalo n'ebisingawo.
Edamachu Monica ng'abeera ku kyalo Airo mu Gombola Yevura mu disitulikiti Arua y'omu ku bakyala abaakamenya likoda ey'okufuuka kaawa omukyala asoose mu bitundu bino. Ekimufuula ow'enjawulo nti yasobola okusoma n'afuna masters degree mu bya business ekitatera kulabika mu bitundu bino mu baana abawala, era agamba nti kitaawe kino yakirwanirira nnyo.
Yali ayagala nnyo abawala be basome nabo bafune emirimu. Kati nanyiikira nnyo okulaba nti tuli mu ssomero, n'atuwa ebintu byonna bye twetaaga, n'asasula fiizi. Olunaku lwa kusooka olina okuddayo ku ssomero.
Mu kyalo ewaabwe mu disitulikiti y'e Malacha, abaana babiri bokka ku bwe baasoma be baatuuka mu yunivasite ng'abasinga baakoma mu kibiina kya 7.
Abaatuuka mu yunivasite twali babiri, nze ne muganda wange. Abangi baaleka kusoma nga bakyali mu primary. Abalala baatuuka P7 ne bafumbirwa.
Edalu Mary y'omu ku abo abaasoma ne Monica n'akoma mu kibiina ekyomusanvu nga bazadde be beeremye okumwongerayo era kwe kufumbirwa ku myaka 15. Agamba singa yafuna omukisa ogwo osanga naye yandibaddeko kyakolera eggwanga n'abaana be.
Nali njagala kufuuka musomesa.
Ono omuwala alina emyaka 17. Yafumbirwa ku myaka 15 bwe yabulwa ebikozesebwa mu ssomero. Alina omwana omu gwakolerera ng'apakasa mu nnimiro z'abantu ne bamuwa 3,000 olunaku.
Kalate yakape vulane.
Ezo ssente zenfuna nga mmaze okulima nzikozesa awaka.
Uganda ejjudde abantu abali mu mbeera eno abafumbizibwa nga tebanneetuuka kizibu okubaako kyetuukako. Waliyo ekiruubirirwa ki Vision 2040 Uganda kyesuubira okugibbulula mu buzibu buno bwetubiddemu. Waliwo ebintu ebiteereddwa mu kiwandiiko ekyo bye bagenda okukola bijje Uganda mu nsi ennaku edde mu mawanga ageesobola. Nti era waakiri buli munnayuganda abeere ng'afuna obukadde 25 omwaka mu kifo ky'akakadde kamu nga bwe kiri ku bannayuganda abasinga obungi ebiseera bino. Abatunuulira ensonga zino bagamba singa ekizibu ky'abaana okuzaala nga tebanneetuuka oba okufumbizibwa tekitunuddwamu, ekiruubirirwa ekyo bakifuuwe mu ng'ombe.
Tumanyi nti waliwo measures nyingi eziteekeddwa mu nkola naye tetunnaba kutuukira ddala mu rural areas, especially ey'abaana gye bali nti omwana atuuka mu P5 na dropping out kuba talina nnyo kyaluubirira waggulu eyo, ate bwe bamala okuzaala tebaddayo mu ssomero. So nekiba nti bwe tutatunuulira nnyo kintu kino ekya teenage pregnancy and early marriages, tujja kulaba ng'omwana omuwala tumulese emabega ne we twagala omuwa omulimu aba talina skills, talina education eyo yeetaagisa.
So nga singa ekizibu kino kitunulwamu abantu ne bagifuula ensonga yaabwe, Uganda yandifuuka eggwanga eryeyagaza ng'ebula emyaka 5 okutuuka mu 2040. Irene Namyalo, NTV, Arua District.
Mu mizannyo olwaleero ng'ebula mbale ekikopo kya Sekafa kijjibweko akawo mu kibuga Dar es Salaam ekya Tanzania. Ttiimu ya KCCA eteekateeka kubaako mipiira egy'omukwano gyegenda okusamba ng'ekyetegekera. Ttiimu eno kati eri mu mitambo gy'omutendesi Sam Musimbwa. Ezimu ku ttiimu zegenda okusamba nazo mulimu eza kuno n'ebweru w'eggwanga.
Newankubadde nga kirabu ya KCC yaviirayo ng'ogusima ebbumba mu sizoni y'omupiira ey'omwaka oguwedde. Kino tekirobedde ttiimu eno kwetegekera kikopo kya Sekafa ekinaatera okuggibwako akawuuwo. Mu kiseera kino KCC eri mu kaweefube okuwagala abasambi baayo okusobola okulwanirira ekikopo kino kye basemba okuwangula mu mwaka gwa 1978. KCC mu kiseera kino erina abatendesi bapya okuli Samusimbwa ne Mike Mutebi oluvannyuma lw'okugobwa kwa Abdallah mu biru.
Enkya tusuubira okutandika tactical and technical aspects we tunaatuukira ku lwokubiri oba ku lwokusatu nga ttiimu egyerinze bulungi.
Mu kikopo kya Sekafa, KCC yakusinkana kirabu omuli Azam okuva mu ggwanga lya Tanzania ng'eno etendekebwa eyaliko emunyenye ya KCC George Nsimbe. Ttiimu endala eziri mu kibinja ekimu ne KCC mulimu Malaika okuva e South Sudan ko Adama City ng'eno ya mu ggwanga lya Ethiopia.
Encha nze Farida Mbaje Mwerabu.
NTV, turning on your world.
Stay closer for longer. 12 hours fresh breath with close-up deep action. Discover the new look of close-up deep action. Your refreshing close-up now in a new look.
Today's highlight.
Told you that I already took care of everything. How did you do that? Did you buy him a ticket out of here? Where to? To Turkey? So that he'll be right under the radar. I bought him a ticket, yes. A ticket straight to heaven. You what?
Today's highlight.
And the change of government won't stop a thing. I've run out of fingers counting the number of multinationals setting up here. What about the 3 companies that announced their plans to launch last week?
I say there shortly. Me, I'd be looking to sell.
At what price?
More. Much, much more.
I don't know who you are or how you know these things, but one thing I'm sure of, you're in the wrong job. Here, call me tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'd like to hear more from you.
Are you ready for your big break? The East African, understanding the region.
Watching Morning at NTV.
When you were born, you cried and the world rejoiced. Live your life so that when you die, the world cries and you rejoice, hopefully because you are in a better place. But what impact are you leaving behind so that people will actually cry when you die? Or are you one of those that, you know, when you actually die, people are like, good riddance? Well, my name is Mebo Kebirunji Mwetejerize, and this is Morning at NTV. Joining us this Tuesday. It is a beautiful Tuesday. We'll have the big story, the press review with Brian and Joel, everyday life, and all the sport, especially what's happening in Wimbledon. But for now, kicking us off is Doreen Kanyesije with Designing Your Destiny.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome to Designing Your Destiny. My name is Doreen. So today I'd like us to discuss whether setting goals is really that important. Countless times have I heard very successful people say it's important that you and I are goal-oriented. Until I took a deep interest into understanding the way our brains work. So then I really got to understand the importance and the vitality of you and I being goal-oriented. What do I mean by that? Now, our brains have a small finger-like organ that we call the reticular activating system. Now, this reticular activating system is pretty much like a gatekeeper for your brain. It lets in the information that it considers important to you. Now, when it does that, it works hand in hand with the prefrontal cortex, which I talked about in the first segment, to then rechannel the resources of your brain to that thing that's important to you. Zig Ziglar once said, if you don't set your goals, you'll then be what he calls a wandering generality, accomplishing little or nothing. You know, when NASA was working on putting a man on the moon, they had a very big picture of the moon covering the entire wall of their construction area. Everyone was clear on the goal that they wanted to accomplish, and they accomplished it 2 years ahead of time. So here's the thing, take some time today. If you've not done so, take some time today to write down a clear description of how you plan to accomplish your dream. Write down specific goals that you will take to design the life that you envision. Thank you so much for watching, and have yourselves a very beautiful day.
Do not underestimate the power of setting goals, something that is always, you know, drummed into our heads most of the time. Well, in the news, former Prime Minister Amama Mbabazi, who is seeking to vie for presidency on the NRM party ticket, has expressed reservations on the fairness of the upcoming contest at which he's expected to challenge President Yoweri Museveni. Mbabazi says the previous conduct of NRM internal elections makes him doubt the process will produce a credible result. But Mbabazi remains non-committal on what he would do if he confirms his fears. The former premier was addressing journalists at his home in Kololo in Kampala in his first press conference since declaring his presidential aspirations 3 weeks ago. Sheila Nduhutire attended Mbabazi's media interaction and filed this report.
In 2 months, former Prime Minister and Secretary General of the ruling National Resistance Movement Party, John Patrick Amama Mbabazi, will know whether he can contest against NRM chairman President Yoweri Museveni to become the party's presidential candidate. But even as he prepares for the internal NRM elections, Mbabazi says he does not have much faith in the fairness of the vote for NRM chairman and 2016 presidential candidate.
Doubt has been raised in my mind on whether, in fact, NRM will take that path of transparency and democracy.
But he's non-committal on what his next course of action would be if his fears of an unfair electoral process are confirmed. So, would he seek the presidency on an independent ticket, join the opposition and civil society coalition, the Democratic Alliance, or bow out of the race?
If NRM is not transparent, is not democratic, those who have chosen that other path are free to continue with it. I will stick to the democratic path.
Mbabazi, who was Minister of Defense and Security at different times in his nearly 30-year stint in President Museveni's government, says there is apprehension in the country due to uncertainty over the transition from President Museveni.
For all the history of Uganda, change has only occurred after violence. So people expect violence. So we must bring this to an end. And my job is to advocate and push for that, to achieve peaceful transition of power.
He insists that his presidential bid is to oversee this peaceful transition and intends to serve for 2 terms, that's 10 years.
This is the time for Uganda to join those nations where elections are routine, are normal, and are not a source of fear and anxiety.
In February 2014, the NRM Parliamentary Caucus passed the famous Shankwanzi resolution declaring President Museveni the sole NRM presidential candidate for 2016. Mbabazi, the MP, was signatory number 202 of the resolution. Now, he says that was a tactical move since he does not believe in ring-fencing positions.
This notion of sole candidate, of ring-fencing any position in the NRM is alien to our history as an organization and runs counter to the very principles for which we fought.
The former premier is expected to begin his countrywide consultations on Thursday, but police have vowed to stop him.
IGB cannot lawfully stop me. He may put a mamba at my gate. maybe. If we put a number there and I will jump over it.
Mbabazi then hit at NRM's second national vice chairperson and Speaker of Parliament, Rebecca Kadaga, who the local media has quoted as having said that the Bachiga, the tribe to which Mbabazi belongs, will not be allowed to exert influence in Kadaga's Busoga region.
Dear sister, desist from that sectarian talk. It's not helpful and it's not reflective of a national leader.
When former Prime Minister Mama Mbabazi first came out to declare his candidature, he said he was opposed to how the system was being run, including health, education, and so many other things. But to date, he still remains tight-lipped on what alternative options he has to offer.
It's not time yet to pronounce ourselves on this, but certainly we will be having an eye on an economy that provides jobs.
Mbabazi becomes the first senior NRM leader and President Museveni's comrade of over 40 years to challenge his tight grip on the country's top job. Shiran Huchre, NTV, Kampala.
Interesting there, Mbabazi in a bright yellow shirt. Former Forum for Democratic Change Party President Dr. Kizza Besigye has justified his bid to seek the presidency on the party ticket for the third time. He fired back at critics who accuse him of turning back on his word that he would not run to become the FDC flag bearer in the 2016 presidential elections. If elected, Dr. Besigye will, for the fourth time, probably face President Museveni, who is widely expected to vie to keep his job.
This is an excerpt from an interview former FDC President Dr. Kizza Besigye had with former NTV news anchor Gabriel Epeno in 2013.
Are we going to see Dr. Kizza Besigye return as flag bearer for the FDC in the next elections?
I will not. I will simply fight the dictatorship so that the dictatorship can go away and we can have elections.
But while addressing journalists at the offices of the pressure group 4GC in Kampala, Dr. Besigye said he was not making any U-turn.
I would like to challenge any person at all to show any evidence that I have ever said I will not contest in an election in Uganda. I have only said I won't contest without reforms.
He also fired back at those accusing him of hypocrisy and political dishonesty.
The Citizens' Compact on free and fair elections. The compact is very clear. I am a signatory to this compact. FDC as a party is a signatory to this compact. All the opposition political parties in Uganda are signatories to this compact.
Dr. Besigye, who was nominated in absentia last week when he was abroad, lashed out at the police for harassing and using excessive force on his supporters, one of whom was reportedly injured by a bullet. After addressing journalists, Dr. Besigye headed to the FDC party headquarters alongside Major General Mugisha Muntu to harmonize their campaign schedule with the party's electoral commission. It will be the third time Dr. Besigye competes with his successor Major General Mugisha Muntu for the FDC ticket as presidential candidate. The Electoral Commission Chairman Dan Mugara then cleared them to begin their countrywide campaigns. The candidates were warned against setting up their campaign offices in the FDC headquarters. The campaigns then began in earnest with Dr. Besigye and General Muntu seeking to win over voters.
We fight to have the elections, but free and fair elections.
Deep hopelessness and anger in this country, we are sitting on a time bomb. The question is, how do we resolve or how do we oust this regime?
Now that the FDC Party Electoral Commission has made it official, Dr. Kizza Besigye and retired Major General Mugisha Muntu have at least 60 days to convince the electorate before the delegates' conference. Suhail Mugabi, NTV, Najanankumbi.
The late Resty Namaweje, co-producer of NTV's Login and Entertainment program, was laid to rest at Kabale near Abaita Babidi on Entebbe Road. Resty and two Miss Tourism 2014 beauty queens died on Saturday after a car they were traveling in lost control and overturned on the Masaka-Kampala highway.
She came highly recommended by Uganda Film and Television Institute. She started off with being assigned an entry-level role of production assistant, and by the time of her death, she had been elevated to handle duties of a co-producer.
We exchange what tukoleramu awo ekitu njagala kola kiri era banga lyonna lyemmaze nabo naye simulabyemu nti oba alina kwalo n'omuntu omulala yenna.
Resty kitususseeko. Resty otulimbye olimbye nnyo.
Those are but some of the most honest descriptions of the late Resty Namaweje's demeanor. The accident and its tragic results have been the byword of the risk. According to many users, parts of the highway are too slippery, especially after a downpour. Many accidents on the road have been blamed on negligence, mostly by drivers. Resty Namaweje died less than a month before her 24th birthday. She was a staunch Catholic. With the non-existence of a multi-pronged mechanism for one to be promoted to the world of the ever-living, Namaweje's friends and family believe her death is but a transition between time and eternity, a coronation moment and visa to the world of glory. Shortly before 4 o'clock, the casket containing Resty's body was lowered into the grave, and at that, an end to her works on earth. Fare thee well, Resty. Ernest Wisdom Chionga, NTV.
Very hard to believe that Resty is no longer with us. We now cross over to Brian to let us know what is making news in today's papers.
Well, Mabel, this morning, of course, many people still sad that Resty and the beauty queen from Northern region passed on. Our hearts and our prayers with the families of the 3 girls that perished in that fatal accident. Of course, it goes without saying that please drive carefully while on the road, and as government tries its duty also of building probably wider, safer roads, you need to be careful first and make sure you save that life. Mbabazi this morning saying that regardless of whether the IGP brings the biggest mamba, he will jump over it and it won't stop his mbale meat. That and more coming up on the press review. It's the 7th day of July 2015. Welcome to Morning at NTV's press review with Joel Senyonyi. Good morning, Joel.
Good morning, Brian.
Even if you bring a mamba, I will jump over it, says the president-to-be of Uganda.
Of Uganda? Hey. And somebody said, look, this man has been watching too many movies now that he's not prime minister. Those things happen in movies. You jump over a mamba, I don't know what. It's going to be an interesting showdown because he's digging in his heels and saying, look, come rain, come shine, I'm waiting for that mbale meat. The IGP has not written back to him. He wrote to the IGP informing him about his consultative meetings, and he's still awaiting for a response. Whether that comes through in good time, we wait to see. It's good. I cannot wait. My hands are itching.
I dare Mbabazi to go to Mbale.
But he will. I think he will.
He won't.
I think he will.
He's going to go and stay in a hotel. Mbabazi cannot allow to be disgraced.
But you see, that's what it's going to take for him to, you know, he's decided to roll up his sleeves. That's what this stuff is like, this political stuff here in Uganda, and he knows it because he's been on the other end.
He's going to receive a test of his own medicine.
That kind of thing, people say. So it's going to be interesting. Let's watch and see. But you see, you know, as we say, these people will think, but now these studies, they are yearning for, you know. But police should follow the law, yeah? Because you see, we see police giving clearance and they are okaying the president's supporters to do whatever it is that they want to do. You know, let them, I mean, for goodness sake, like we have said again and again, what's good for the goose should be good for the gander. And you see, Mbabazi is like an albatross to the NRM. What that means is an albatross is a metaphor for a burden that one must carry. And so whether the NRM likes it or not, this is the burden they must carry for now. Because you see, they cannot even expel him from the party. On what grounds?
Why can't they?
On what grounds?
If they expel rebel MPs, why can't
Yeah, because you see, they had a bit of grounds.
He's a rebel.
You know,
he's going against the caucus resolution that
but you see, the caucus is an opinion.
Is the only
but the caucus
candidate.
No. It's the delegates conference that determines that, not the caucus. You know, so
what's
you
the
cannot
difference?
knock him.
What are you
What's
going
the
to?
Difference?
You think the people who were in that caucus meeting?
They only form a fraction of the delegates conference. By
Joel
the way.
No,
but you see, the point is, of course, yeah, it's as good as home and dry. You and I know that. Yeah, but you see, it's difficult to knock this man out on technicalities. That's the point, you know. So that is why, for now, he is a burden that they have got to carry. They cannot do away with him, you know, and yet he's got a bit of support internally. How much support, I do not know, but there you are.
Isn't Mbabazi, for lack of a better word, discrediting? And I know, okay, he's playing by the rules. He's saying, I'm going to contest in the NRM, which is clear. He won't win that vote.
Yeah, but you see.
But isn't he discrediting then himself to relegate himself to the NRM? Why didn't he just come out clear and say, I'm going to be an independent Zavike?
But he's always told you that he's a loyal cadre of the NRM. He believes in the tenets of the NRM, and he's saying, look, I want to first try it out within the NRM. Of course, yesterday, certainly you could hear him say he's not convinced that the election will be free and fair internally within the NRM. But he's saying, look, I want to try that out. He's playing his cards right, because you see, when he looks out and says, look, this guy's rigged me out, he will have quite a bit of sympathizers. You know the way we do things. I mean, if the likes of Tinka Simire, guys that he roughshod over and threw out of the party almost single-handedly, are now in cahoots with him. So what do you think will happen? You know, so I think it's playing that card right, saying, let me start here. You know, if they rig me out, then I'll tell people, you see what happened? And of course, many people will be angry, and that calls a sympathy vote on him. But still, it's a tall order. It's
I will tell you, we can't wait to see this. We can't wait to see this. And quoting Mbabazi says, a yes man is no friend. A true friend says not what his comrade wants to hear, but rather what he needs to hear. And that is why I told my comrade, Yoweri Museveni, that it was time for a peaceful transition.
And I can imagine Yoweri Museveni, His Excellency, watching this and is thinking, this invidious man. Invidious is somebody or something that makes one angry.
This can make you angry? Okay,
it should make the president angry.
It's a bit
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you see, when he watches this man very calmly and so on, he's probably itching to eat him up like a sambosa. But he's looking for the opportunity, he's lacking in weight, and the opportunity is not quite coming.
If this was coming from Bessie, it would not be a surprise. Or
in fact, that's even too little.
It is.
Because he has always been vitriolic to His Excellency the President. But from Mbabazi, and then he will smile and then pause a bit, and then he will hammer and then relax. Talking of Besigye, I'm back to uproot warlords. That is what he is saying. You know, you heard Besigye saying that he challenges anybody to bring him evidence.
We have the evidence.
And the other day we were pettifogging in newsroom saying, you know, everybody was saying a different thing and so on. He said, let's scummage through the tapes and then we get out something. And of course, there was that interview with Gabriel Epenu that seemed to show that this man was saying, look, I'm not standing again. And now he's trying.
It showed that he said he will never stand again.
Well, and now he's trying to come out and qualify that statement, saying, actually, what I meant is that if there are no electoral reforms, then I will not run again.
One and the same?
Yeah, he's a quintessential politician, so.
This is you know, talking to some people and they're saying, okay, Besigye has stood 3 times and he has lost all the elections. That means those are 15 years. And if we said Besigye was winning all these elections, Besigye ideally would be going for his 4th election. So he has no moral authority to tell the president to stand for 2 terms.
No, I don't entirely agree. While I agree with those who think Besigye has run his race and he needs to take a chill, play the activist and, buttress the likes of Mugisha Muntu and build that within the party. Again, I don't agree with that analogy because he's not been president yet, so you cannot say because
so
you've had several
I am allowed
attempts.
to stand for as many, as many times as possible. As long as I'm not winning, it's okay.
But that's what their constitution says. Look, this one actually, and again, those that are saying he should step down might be seen as sanctimonious, trying to play the moral card. Morally, that is where you would knock him down, but legally not. Technically, that is. Because this constitution says you can run as many times. There's no limit to how many times you can run for FDC party presidency. I mean, flag bearer, that is. But for FDC party president, you can only do that for 2 terms, So he's saying, I've not been president before, so I'm still trying. When I eventually make it, I'll do only 2 terms. Whether or not that's believable, that's a different subject matter altogether, yeah? But
can you separate morality from this? Because you're on the mic yesterday saying it is, illegal or it is not right for the president to stand to be president more than 2 terms. You are the same person who has contested him 4 times.
But he will tell you, I stepped down. In fact, I didn't even complete my FDC party presidency. I stepped down and let somebody else take over. So many will look at that as, a good thing to do. So it's a catch-22. But many a pundit out there believe this man has run his race. He doesn't believe so. He still has warlords to uproot. So
read about those warlords and where they can be found.
The lizard here is asking, did the warlords not exist in 2001, 2006, and 2011?
Very good question.
They have actually listened.
There's one warlord.
One is off.
Page 3 of the Daily Monitor is carrying a story over the tourism beauty queen and Resty from NTV laid to rest there. You can read about that. But again, another sad story. Couple sues Mengo Hospital over baby death.
I don't know what's up with the hospitals nowadays. I don't know anyway whether the problem is with hospitals or it could be that we are highlighting these issues a lot more because there's always going to be a challenge where life is concerned. You take somebody in and as a relative, as a friend, you're expecting this person has to come out of hospital alive. But you see, life is interesting and these doctors, however perspicacious they are, sometimes they make errors, sometimes they make, they are tired. But other times, they can only do so much. Or you try your very best and you just cannot save somebody. I'm not necessarily alluding to this case. People might think I am, but I'm just looking at the bigger question. As a person, when you take your relative, your person to hospital and they die at the hands of a doctor, you're livid, you're angry, regardless of whatever could have happened. You're thinking maybe the doctor was careless, maybe something didn't happen right. And it's possible that the doctor did everything they could professionally, everything they knew how to. But they just could not save this person's life, So I don't know. But again,
that's a very thin line.
It is.
But I don't even know what to say about this case. But I think there's even baby theft in the case of Mulago Hospital, where everyone seems to be suing Mulago Hospital for stealing babies. Let's be honest that actually we have very irresponsible medical practitioners.
Not entirely.
And you see it when you walk into a hospital. You have to literally scream to get something. But of course, unless you're on maybe private insurance, you'll get a doctor who will care about you and they know that you can easily go to the director of the hospital and say, this woman has done this, and the next day her job will not be available. But in these public hospitals, who cares? The medical superintendent of the health center does not care because they are also literally in the same boat as the nurse. So why should I fire the nurse yet the next day the district health officer is going to fire me?
So I hear you. I hear you. This particular case, the parents are saying their baby was injected wrongly by a student nurse. So was that a question of carelessness and so on? Because you see, interns work the hardest. One, it's good for them so that they get to learn. But also when interns are around, the seniors take a chill and that kind of thing. There's a bit of carelessness, granted, but sometimes if you go to Mulago, quietly and watch, you will see that some of these nurses, some of these doctors are working their backs off. You know, given the circumstances, they don't have enough equipment. There's not enough beds. You find one nurse is on a ward that has 1,000,001 people, figuratively speaking. There are some on beds, there are some on the floors. And this person gets tired, and look, when you are tired, everything gives way, you know, because you see, we are human beings too. So you can get angry, speak to somebody rudely. Not that that's right, because again, there are some nurses that will bark at people and so on. But I'm just looking at the bigger picture of our health services, and not that it's excusable the way sometimes these health practitioners behave, but it's explainable sometimes. This person has been working the whole day, they are tired, they are catering for I don't know how many people. Their salary has not been on their account for the last 2 months.
Yeah.
And you expect them to be very nice? It's hard. It would take a saint of sorts, you know. It's not excusable at all. I don't think that's an exculpation good enough, but it's explainable, I think.
Well, in inference to this case, I hope this couple is ready for you know, an emotional and psychological roller coaster. This is going to take long, for sure. Prices go up. Fuel prices go up against a weak shilling. It's now coming to about 4,000 shillings. If you're driving, you'll understand that probably it's time to start using boda boda.
The ones that are killing people left, right, and center. So boda bodas use what? They use water?
Well, if
this
you're on a boda boda and a guy takes 5,000 shillings for like 4 journeys, you kind of want to be in there. But you drive a car that almost consumes like affordable.
What are you saying?
I envy you. I envy you. If I could get that car, oh my goodness. I'll just, you know.
Maybe you should give away that car that looks like an animal and get a much smaller one. But look, it is still worrisome, you know. When you go to the pump and you look at these prices, you know, in some cases 3,900, you're thinking, hey, 3,950 for some. It's worrisome. We need to do something, because you see, fuel prices have got a ripple effect on literally everything. Literally everything. Even those that should not be tethered to it, they will give that excuse, I'm a mafuta girl in, you know. But for much of them, because they'll have to transport goods, so when you go to the market, they'll tell you, boss, these goods are transported from Barara, from Masaka, using fuel, you know, so everything has gone up and so on.
Yeah.
It's tricky. It has an effect, and that is why whenever a government says we are increasing fuel tax by, you know, 25 shillings, there's an uproar. Everybody is livid out there, you know. We need to address this. And people think it's going to bite a lot harder as we head to elections. Our shilling is going to depreciate a lot more. Why? Because a lot more of the shilling is going to be out there. And the more, when something is a lot more available, it loses value.
We are back to digital broadcasting because Signet forcefully disabled our analog signals, and there's nothing we can do further. Those are the words of Managing Director of NTV, Agi Konde. And the court is to hear the digital migration petition today.
Look, that lawyer is a brave one, an interesting one, the one that sued. You know, you'll talk to people and they'll tell you that I think it's important that we go digital, you know, because we've got to move with the trends, yeah? But also as we go digital, for goodness sake, 125,000, that's the cheapest set-top box in Kampala here.
It's too expensive.
It is through the roof for the ordinary family out there. 125, some people don't earn that in a month. You know, so you're telling them to what? To save their month salaries for two months? Or that kind of thing? No, it's not right. We need to do something about it. You know, it's important that there's no blackout. It's important that we have a clearer picture, digital migration. That's good. That's very important.
A smooth transition into this process. I think no one is you know, contesting the digital transition, but how is it done? And I think the conversation has been about whether UCC has done its job of sensitizing the public about the importance of this and why we need to move, just like the rest of the world is doing. Joe, this is a very interesting story.
Oh yeah, as you can see, I put an asterisk on it. Lands bans phones in office during work hours. This is the Lands Ministry. They say, look, there are normally long queues and the attenders are on phone, WhatsApping, I don't know, doing what, etc., and the queues remain there longer, and so there's been complaints, and they've said, you know what, poop, it's a wrap. So when you get to office, you shelve your phone and you get to work. I think this is very important, even though that might sound draconian and very totalitarian, but sometimes what do? You go to an office and instead of working, people are literally on their phones. Of course, it's different for media houses. You know that you know, our key performance indicators as part of them. As people are getting fired for, say, using social media, we can get fired for not using social media. Yes, we can.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a catch-22 for us.
I find this a very huge excuse. Maybe they are on their phones dealing other people's titles and pieces of land in the lands ministry. Because there's a lot of, you know.
So they are saying they're on their phones working.
But come on, you cannot ban phones because they are long queues.
No, but you see, if it's become a serious issue, what do you do? Because if the queues are long, people instead of attending
how many
to these
WhatsApp
people,
groups do you belong to?
Many, and I'm actually getting tired. I'm quitting some of them. You know, because no, it can just be crazy. That day somebody added me to another, and I said, "Hello, what are you doing to me?"
Let me see.
And of course they'll be like,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, I support lands ministry.
But you see the issue. But you see, the problem is actually not belonging to them all, because, you know, sometimes it's important you keep tabs with, I don't know, it could be a work group, it could be family or that kind of thing. But get a time when to do it. You cannot be on social media all the time.
All the time.
You know, and that is why now some of us read things a little bit later and people will complain, but Joel, and that kind of thing. And I'm thinking, you know what? If you have something urgent to communicate to me, for goodness sake, don't do it on WhatsApp. I'm not on it 24/7.
But there are people who you reach faster on WhatsApp than there. When you call them, they don't answer. When you tweet, they answer the tweet. So
yeah, then do that for them. But for others, you realize that, you know what? A WhatsApp message, I'll read it the following day. So if it's an emergency, you're in trouble.
Let's go through some regional news before we wrap this up. Also in the Proxima magazine, you can read about digital migration, get to understand it, and Malcolm Mwinda, who has made a name from vending passion fruits, and
that's a manager.
That's a manager of
a
radio
fruit
station.
vendor. Yeah, but you see here in our newsroom, for example, they are proper people.
Yeah.
You know, like who are you talking about? You know, they come.
People are quite innovative.
Smartly dressed, driving a nice car, and then they come and they're selling to you fruits, they're selling to you chapati.
Yeah.
You know, and that kind of thing.
That's innovative.
Absolutely, and it's a good thing. One would think, the whole of me, I don't know, a news anchor or that kind of thing, how will I sell chapati? But some guy here is selling chapati, and man, he's making a killing. Hey, I envy you, my brother. I'm sure he's in the newsroom already watching.
But I like that. It's really
absolutely, and we need to do that. Before we go to regional news, quote of the day is made by President Paul Kagame to Rwanda's critics. He says, "Do you think those who liberated the country do not know what to use it for? Do you see me as a person who should be reminded of what to do? Your Excellency, you are human like everybody else. You know, there is in being reminded, you know, and people should keep reminding you, for goodness sake. Of course, you talk about third term and stuff like that, and you know, you don't want to be reminded.
We just want to mention, in case of Chedabid, I mean.
Absolutely, because you were hired for this job, eh?
Yeah.
You know, so there's got to be appraisals and that kind of thing. In the opinion section, Nicholas Sengova writes and says, beware, you may elect a new leader with a quote-unquote Museveni package.
Read about in the Daily Monitor what it means to be 19 and separated with your husband. Also in the red pepper this morning, I'm ready to die, says Amama Mbabazi. And the police is saying, we shall give you a full dose. Amama is saying, I will jump over military members and march on. We can't wait to see that. A 2-page spread of the press conference there at his home yesterday. And of course, the burial of NTV co-producer of Login here, Resty and the beauty queen, Miss Tourism from northern Uganda. Of course, Besigye and Muntu here hugging, but in a couple of days, it's going to be a showdown. Decide who will be flag bearer for the FDC. Joel, I hear in Japan, this woman sued that her husband cheated on her. But the court, the man sued the woman. But the court decided that, you know, it was important that this woman sleeps with another man because she needed to keep him as her client, and therefore was justified.
I saw that and I was flummoxed. You know, because they are saying, for as long as it's business related, if it's to, you know, in a way or another foster business interests, then it is okay. And I thought,
because some clients are hard, Joel.
got to be nice to them, you've got to cajole them.
Yeah, you have to, you know.
South Africa passed something too. I was looking at a couple of countries that are doing one or two things, and you're thinking,
man,
what is going on here?
Absolute chaos going on. Later on the show, big stories coming up with, should I say president-elect or not yet?
Depends on who you ask. If you ask Olara Otono,
he's not the
say,
president.
Akena, I do not know him. But yeah.
Well,
the Honorable Akena is coming up.
He is going to be here for the big story. Mabel, Obama came out strongly last night on the ISIS war and declares that indeed the US will make sure that they put ISIS in their place, but it's not going to be a quick and fast thing to do. Also, the finance minister of Greece resigns and a new one is sworn in right away to make sure that Greece moves on. More of that and the rest of the stories on the international scene.
Yes, thank you very much, Bran. Obama here offering an update on the military mission against ISIS on Monday, emphasizing the long-term nature of the effort and the importance of local forces and a stable government as keys to stopping the terror in the Middle East. But many people will admit and say, you know, what has happened in the Horn of Africa? How much peace are we actually seeing? Moving on to the Al Jazeera page, some good news. Eritrean cyclists have made history at the Tour de France. Daniel and Mehri are part of the Tour's first African team and the first Eritreans to ride in the race. They belong to a team that is called MTN Kubeka, and it's the first ever team of Africans to take part, and I'm so happy that they are actually Africans in this Tour de France. And still here, Germany and France are asking Greece to make credible proposals for the debt deal. French and German leaders say the door is open for discussions. What are you proposing? With Greece's economy grasping for air, the authorities extended an 8-day bank closure until Thursday amid fears that cash machines in the country are actually running dry. And we will continue again here. Obama and talks about the U.S. intensifying the campaign in Syria. On to BBC. This is an interesting story now. In Brazil, apparently 85% of the births in private hospitals are cesarean sections. However, government is saying these need to be justified. Doctors will have to say why they need these cesarean sections, and the ladies will have to sign consent forms. Apparently, giving birth naturally, there are few beds for that in most hospitals, and women in Brazil, because of a lot of influence, or should I say, on body image, they think that giving birth naturally is primitive and outdated, and cesareans is the way to go. It's also very hard to get a bed for a natural birth. It's just unbelievable. Anyway, these are some new measures there on the BBC page. And in Zimbabwe, elephants have been flown to China. The 20 elephants have arrived in China after being flown there from Harare. They were sold for about $40,000 US each after their controversial capture last year. The sale has raised money to help run the national park and also shows the growth of the elephant herd. So I guess it's not such a bad business deal. If you have too many elephants and the Chinese need the elephants, you can give them some of the elephants. Fast-tracking development, a Ugandan village experience. This is a story on the BBC Africa page, and they're talking here about bananas. The place is Ruhiri. You can read more about this on the BBC page. About 50,000 people live in this hilly area, and interesting story about the development here. 7/7, it is 10 years now after the London attacks, and authorities are stretched to the limit as they try to counter the threat. The man who led the investigation into the 7/7 bombings has warned that the terrorist threat is as great as it has ever been. That is Peter Clark, the head of Scotland Yard. And moving on to Reuters here. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro on Monday said he was calling in the country's ambassador in neighboring Guyana for consultations amid an escalating row over oil exploration in a disputed offshore territory. And Bill Cosby here, interestingly, says he actually gave quaaludes to women for sex. He admitted this during testimony in a civil case brought by a former Temple University employee. The case was settled for an undisclosed sum in 2006, but the documents in the case were unsealed on Monday after the Associated Press went to court. I do not know what this actually does because he has always denied these allegations. And on CNN here, we have Nick Kyrgios. They say his tournament, his time at Wimbledon 2015 has come to an end, but he's being accused of not trying hard enough. And if he found guilty, he will actually be fined. Just a lot of controversy. He started off with abuse, and yeah, this is how he's actually going out. And that's all we had for you here on the international scene. Morning at NTV will continue after this break.
Watching Morning at NTV.
Effective Monday, 6 July, screening time for your favorite drama series, The Hostel, is Monday at 7:35 p.m. Behind Closed Doors will air Wednesday to Friday at 8:05 p.m. and repeats on Saturdays at 3 p.m. Brave Woman will be showing on Tuesdays and Wednesdays at 10 p.m. and repeats will air on Thursdays and Fridays at 11:30 a.m.
Brave Woman.
You what? I said that I solved it, so I solved it. Well, at least this case leaves a clue. A clue that we could follow. An unprotected clue. Santiago. Let's put this guy through the ringer. Let's investigate all the connections that he ever had, all right?
Attorney Stenio. He got him released about 3 times, right?
Ha!
Why are you still here? I told you I don't want to hear about Morena. I won't listen to what you have to say.
But Morena is in danger, Theo.
What danger, Sheila?
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
The quibbling within one of Uganda's oldest political parties, UPC, seemed to be unending. Why so? After Leader Municipality MP Jimmy Akena was elected as president of the party, unopposed that is, he was meant to be confirmed at a delegates conference. That did not quite happen. Another meeting turned out to be the delegates conference that affirmed him. And then, of course, Olara Otuno and his colleagues saying, no, that's illegal, it is out of order. How does this augur for the party, the UPC, especially as 2016 draws nigh? I have the man himself to tell us about this and a lot more when we get back for the big story.
The Big Story brought to you by Taj Techno Bread, baked with perfection.
The Honorable Jimmy Akena, what's not in doubt is that you're the Leader Municipality MP. We'll discuss the other details. Good morning.
Morning.
Let me begin with a very basic question. Who is the president of UPC?
I am.
You are. Olara Otuno will say you are not, and his basis for that is that you were meant to be confirmed at a delegates conference, which was meant to happen, I think that's 10th July or August?
Originally it was 12th June.
12th June.
Postponed to 10th July. Then postponed indefinitely.
Postponed indefinitely. And so now, here was a consultative meeting, which you and your group now decided, let it metamorphose into a delegates conference that confirmed you. And you've had the vice president outgoing, Joseph Bosa, saying this is illegal. Of course, Olara Otuno and his colleagues too saying this is illegal. This was not a delegates conference, it was a consultative meeting, which for one reason or another, you decided to morph into a delegates conference.
It was moved by the members, and because of the flip-flopping and the postponement, we decided let us call the delegates to discuss the future of the party. So we had brought the delegates together, discussing the matters, and the matters were presented to them. Now, as the delegates had gathered, I think it was over 60%, about 64% of the delegates were there. That is when the motion was moved, quorum was available, meeting was guided according to the Constitution, and the position, which was already clear, was then confirmed before the delegates. You see, like in the national Constitution, although in that particular case, the electorate is the whole population of Uganda, or those who are registered. If at the end of nominations, there's only one candidate nominated, the Constitution says that that person shall be declared elected unopposed. And that it goes further in the Constitution to talk about the swearing in should take place within 24 hours. That is as far as the national case is concerned. And of course, as a political party, we're guided within the context of the national Constitution. So the fact that the elections in the district gave a very clear picture, and those who are not happy with the result were trying to find all sorts of ways to reverse the result. But I don't think it was helpful or possible to reverse the will of the people.
Some have insinuated that, look, this is actually beyond what the party is about and the squabbles therein. It is personal between Jimmy Akena and Olara Otuno. Is there any personal issues between the two of you? Any beef, like we like to colloquially say?
I don't think I'm the one who has been attacking anyone or going personal. When I got an opportunity to campaign, I went to the members, discussed with the members. And on much of this issue, I've tried to avoid discussing it in public. I was willing to discuss it with the members of the delegates conference who came for the consultative meeting. I'm willing to work within the party. I'm even willing to talk to Olara Otuno, Joseph.
Have you got it in touch with him so that you know, extending an olive branch or whatever the case might be and say, look, people, let's sit and discuss this and find a way forward?
At the moment, I'm in touch with Olara through proxy. Getting hold of him directly has not been that easy. As for Joseph Bossa, no, I've not been in touch with him.
When I look at the UPC and how far it has come, one of the biggest concerns that people have is that we moved from Milton Obote, and yes, of course, there were issues for a very long time. Then came Miriam Obote, your mother, and now we have Jimmy Akena Obote. Look, I think there's nothing wrong with a son taking over if they're competent and that kind of thing, and many will tell you so. But again, it's a major concern. You know, if you are objecting His Excellency the President for what some of you in the opposition have said, he's trying to strategize his son to take over, or his wife, or whatever the case might be. You seem to be doing the same thing within the UPC. How do you respond to that?
First of all, I got into elective politics after my father passed away. Obviously, before that, I was his assistant for a number of years. But politics is the only field where to reach somewhere you have to be elected. To get to the position where I am, I had to go through elections. And that means it's a larger body of members who determine whether you can or you cannot, irrespective of your background. So it is not something which can just be willed and comes into being. You still have to go out and campaign. You still have to be accepted. You have to have a message and a program which is going to be accepted and elected on that basis. So personally, I don't have an issue of whose background, but you have to go through the acid test of election. When you emerge from the election, you have a clear mandate which is given to you. But definitely, a good name in politics is worth everything. So if I am recognized because of the good work my father did, it is up to me to ensure that I emulate and continue on that path. But in itself, being a son, or that in itself is not sufficient. You still have to go out for the election.
Once upon a time, the UPC was a colossus of sorts in this country. Whether or not it was because it had power can be debated, but it was a dinosaur, so to speak. But over the years, it has plummeted, it has gone down. As party president now, well, of course, that is still detestable and rather, that is still debatable, but I'm sure some kind of solution will be sorted out either in court or whatever the case might be. But as somebody that has been very active within this party, you have been around from the times of your father, you were his political assistant and the like. What would you diagnose as the problem of this party? Because clearly the UPC of today is not the UPC that was back then. You know, you don't have as many members, you don't have as much support, you've participated in elections, you don't have many MPs in parliament, even some of those seem to be on the other side, etc., etc. What is the problem with this party?
I think Our key task is to get back on message. I was listening to you earlier when you're talking about the health services and the concern about the health services. As UPC, that is an area which we had focused on previously, and I feel that it's something which we really need to look at. As a country, our health services are not up to standard. You talk about the public health system, the hospitals, the staff. We're not appreciating those who actually give their efforts to ensure that we have quality health care. We're not investing enough into healthcare, and we're not trying to see that we develop it. That, in the context of UPC, I would say like the health professionals are the generals in the war against disease. We must appreciate them as that. We must honor them as such. We must ensure that we retain all the people who are trained in that area, and we give them the tools where they can be able to operate. So the UPC I am building is to refocus on those key areas, areas of health, areas of quality education, and general issues of livelihood. Those who are unable, you also raised the concern about people not being able to pay for the
set-top boxes?
The set-top boxes. People have to be able to earn enough to live their lives, to educate their children, to treat them, and to have a good quality of a good standard of living. Those are the issues where we need to focus. That is where UPC needs to be. Not stuck in Uganda House, not on constant attack of individuals or personalities. Let's get back to basics. Let's get the core issues where we're going to touch the lives of people and we become relevant in people's lives. Recently we had the budget, the State of the Nation, and the focus was largely infrastructure and huge projects. Of course, the energy is necessary, but it's taken a long time coming. But where's the human face in that budget? Where does it touch the lives of the common man? How is their lives going to improve? That is where UPC needs to be. UPC needs to be the voice of the people, the voice, the conscience of the nation, that despite this, you can have thousands of millions of people in UPE. Are we getting a quality output? Those are the issues where I intend to push. That's where I intend to build the party around. And it's going back to basics, but taking the reality of today into context. That's where I want to see UPC.
Observing from the periphery, I can tell you that any party that wants to, position itself as a juggernaut of sorts, a force to reckon with in this country, has got to reach out to the young people. True. Because as you know, 78% of this country's population is below the age of 30. That's the nation, if you like. In fact, Uganda is the youngest nation. That is why you see many of these political parties, they're doing everything they can, to try and woo the young people. UPC, I would think that is one of its most deleterious challenges, that young people have not, for one reason or another, found UPC comfortable. Either they do not feel they resonate with it real good. What's your plan? Because you see, you have the older folks, and that's good, that's very important. They are very much needed to guide the party, to guide the younger ones like yourselves that are now taking over, etc., etc. But in as far as digging in its heels as a party, UPC, things are not all right, and as far as touch with the young people is concerned. What's your plan?
Definitely, we're focusing on the young people. A lot of my cabinet already is a much younger generation, and of course there'll be more coming in. And we need to work. The older people can give us the experience and the knowledge which they have gone through, but it's up to the younger people to really carry the task forward. And we need to focus. On the young people, we have serious unemployment issues or underemployment. We are getting so many graduates out, but we are not being able to deploy them in that. As a country, we have not developed a manpower policy. In that, if you ask those who are in authority, or you go even to the National Planning Authority, you cannot get a clear picture of what Uganda's manpower needs will be 5-10 years from now. So as a country, we're just doing things to whom it may concern, hoping for the best. If we are serious and we're looking at the development of the country, we need to have planned how we're going to be approaching the future manpower needs, and giving the young people the necessary skills, knowledge base to be functional in such a society. Going back to education, I look at some of the schools in a very terrible situation. No desks, classrooms falling apart, and we're going into a digital age. This digital age, we really need to move, literally skip steps for Uganda to be relevant. Have that digital skills from a very early age. We need to be targeting the primary school going kids such that by the time they're coming out, when they're graduating, they're going to be able to engage in such a global economy. Because at that point, you may be competing directly with somebody sitting in a studio in Beijing or whatever. I mean, the distance and time is no longer going to be a hindrance. Where are we as a country in that preparation? So, from my side, it's something which is of great concern. We need to engage. We need to, of course, involve young people to really bring forward their issues, their concerns, and how they want to see the future of their country. So, again, within a party context, you have to get the views of the young people. You have to involve them, and you have to put them in positions of leadership to be able to grow in that leadership. Avoid this issue of you must get experience before you get deployed, but in some cases somebody needs to get that exposure and develop the experience from there. I mean, experience does not come anyhow. You have to be given that opportunity.
You, I'm sure, are warming up for 2016 elections, and the players are increasing by the day. Jimmy Akena is known at UPC House, Uganda House for that matter. Jimmy Akena is known well in Lira municipality where he's member of parliament. The rest of Uganda, I am not too sure how far you spread your tentacles. What's your plan? How do you hope to transcend this Herculean task of reaching out to Ugandans all over the place and telling them, I am the right man for this job?
It is, individually I cannot do it. But as a party with a key focus, which, as I mentioned earlier, is targeting the well-being of the citizens of Uganda, definitely we can do it. We can do it as a team. We can do it for a key purpose. And that is why in all of my political talk, I try my level best to avoid these personality attacks or all these petty arguments. Let's get down to the real issues which is going to make a difference in this country. And that is what encouraging members. In the campaign, I had very good interactions with party supporters, party members, the party leaders at the district and constituency level. And I think we are on a clear path that we're going to rebuild this party based on the core principles which made UPC the colossus you're talking about. And that is where we're going.
You see, for any party, I think, to take power in this country, you've got to be very well rooted at the grassroots, and you have got to be firmly on ground. I don't know what the picture is like for the UPC. Do you have people on ground in the different areas, or is it in some areas where you are favored? Do you know how many members, for example, the UPC has as a party?
No, as a register, we don't have a clear register, a national register. When do you hope to
do that? 2016 is next door.
We have a lot of membership and structures across the country. We have representation in local governments, even in areas where people are not believing that we do, but those are some of the areas where I'm going to put a lot of focus in getting people and encouraging a lot of the younger generation to participate in the elections, to start building their experience in the political realm. But UPC has widespread support across the country, and it is to kindle that support, build upon it, and set ourselves up to really make a difference. As I mentioned, we need to be the voice of the people. There's so much talk about the economy is growing, but is the economy benefiting the citizens? And even if we have the greatest growing economy, but the citizens, whether in healthcare, education, opportunities, job opportunities, future, are not catered for, then we have failed in the task. So ultimately, our measuring stick is what is happening, improving the standard of living. And that is where UPC is going to be.
You see, when I hear you different opposition political figures, I don't think you're wanting in as far as message is concerned, generally speaking. I think you know the right things to say, you know what the people need to hear. You know the challenges that this country is grappling with. You've talked about them, health sector, education sector, etc., etc. Those are easy to add and bread. And that means if we look at Besigye, we look at Muntu, we look at Mao, and now there's Akena, and so on. You all literally seem to have the same message. So hardly will a voter pick on any one of them because they have a better message, I think. So what makes people think Akena is a lot more believable, he's the right candidate for this job?
Now, you see, I come from the UPC perspective. UPC talked about it and did it.
Yeah, but you see, that's in the back, and you were not even one of the players. So history for now, I think, is as good as home and dry. We need to move forward. So it's a new chapter altogether, because you see, talking about the good past old days.
I'm not talking about...
The NRM, which you keep abjugating on a daily, has had its very good, really, really good old past days, We're now talking about the present and prognosticating the future.
I am not disagreeing with you. I am saying that there was a formula which worked, and that formula can still work. And that formula was based on focusing and putting the resources where it mattered. To develop the health system which we have, they talk about the 24 100-bed hospitals. When you see the state in which they're almost completely dilapidated. We have recently borrowed money to rehabilitate some of them, but the cost at which we borrowed money and the amount of money, it is actually more than it was to build them in the first place. Looking at what was done, having the records of what was done, and keeping that key focus. I mean, you can talk about all the good things in order to get to power, but are you really committed to them? And that's where I'm coming from, in that as a congressman, UPC, that is where our commitment is, that is where our strength is, that is where our passion is. Anybody can talk about the good things which can be done in healthcare. I mean, we've talked about healthcare for how many years? What has happened in the healthcare? We've talked about education. We are talking about expanding. We have so many students in UPE. USC is taking off. So many graduates coming out. But what is the qualitative aspect of it? I'm coming from the perspective of UPC says what it means and does what it means. Everybody, of course, every manifesto is going to talk about these things, but are they really committed to do it? And that one is where you have to distinguish. Somebody can say something, but are they willing to do it? Have they stood by it? Is that what their core beliefs stand around? And that is where I see UPC different from the other political parties. And UPC is a party which has been left of center, focused on the well-being of the person.
Maybe finally, as we wrap this up, you see, previously the opposition has come together and formed an alliance, which, as you saw in 2011, it botched. Your party president then absquatulated, did not even vote for himself. And we see the opposition seemingly doing something resemblant to what they did previously. They feel this is the right thing to do, let's put and harness our efforts together. And that is the only way we can nip the NRM in the bud. What's your take on this whole democratic alliance? Are you for it? Do you feel it's important that as the opposition, you sit and agree that I think this is the best shot we have, this is the best candidate we have, let's all be behind them?
In the run-up to 2011, I was involved in a lot of the discussions, but more of the behind-the-scenes discussions. And the issues I was pushing then is that the core issues which we're bringing together, going back to the, sorry I keep going back to this issue, health, education, well-being. I wanted that to be the core thing that brings us together. If we're committed together to say that this is what we're going to do in health, it is going to be easier to keep the coalition. So we worked under this, there were some committees dealing with thematic areas of where the parties who were cooperating on the IPC could find common ground. And we did run into some difficulties. We were able to get some very broad, loose agreements on some of those issues. But I still feel now that if those things are in the center of us coming together, that is what can help keep the coalition or the coming together. That's where we're going to get some headway. Currently, as it stands, there's one area which needs to be discussed in much greater detail and with a lot of concern. And this is on the question of how we're going to field candidates for parliamentary and below, single candidates as opposition. The reality is that over the last year and a half, people have been campaigning. And even within our political parties, we need to manage the primaries in such a way that we create more problems within ourselves and we don't get more independents coming out. Now, in that context and bringing together other parties who also have candidates campaigning for the same positions, that is an area which needs to be managed delicately. And I want to explore that at a greater depth with the other leaders and the other political parties, how we're going to manage that. That will really determine how the alliance features in the upcoming election.
General Mujimi Akena, Lira Municipality MP and disputed UPC President, thanks a bunch for talking to us this morning.
Thank you.
And we wish you well in trying to sort out the issues surrounding your presidency at Uganda House.
Welcome.
Coming up is my opinion. I'm sure every so often you take a look at ants. Some of you may be a lot more closely. If you're to consider the ways of the ants, they are very interesting. You know, they are punctilious, they are organized, they work together as a team. Little wonder they can pull down many, many interesting things. You look at a building, huge, and before long, it can be pulled down by ants. Not an ant, but ants. I wish as human beings we could learn from this, you know, that we get organized, work together for a common good of sorts. When I see the squabbles that are happening within the UPC, I'm thinking, what's wrong with these good people? Maybe it's time that they get together, sort out their differences, and work as a team if they have a common agenda, that is. Same story will go for all the other political parties. FDC has got its own issues. The NRM, you know, they are coming out a lot more nowadays, and literally every political party. I think it's important that if you have an agenda, work together. Find a way of ameliorating the challenges that you do have, and let's see how we deliver Uganda. Need I mention that as a country, we need to be orderly, need to be in unison, needs to be one? I think that's very important. If Uganda is going to get moving forward as we want it to move forward, we've got to do it together. Can we do that? That's the big story for this morning. Thanks a bunch for joining us. Coming up in a bit is Everyday Life.
Is baked under the principles of good hygienic practices. Agents and distributors, call the numbers on your screen for more information. Taj Techno Bread, baked with perfection.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
That's why she uses new geisha with extracts from nature that make it mild enough to use for the whole family. New geisha, mild care for your family skin.
You don't have to feel like a wasted space. Your original cannot be replaced. If you only knew what the future holds, after a hurricane comes a rainbow. Maybe a reason why all the doors are closed, so you could open one that leads you to the perfect road. Like a lightning bolt, your heart will glow, and when it's time, you know you just gotta ignite the light and let it shine. Just own the night like the 4th of July. 'Cause baby, you're a firework. Come on, show 'em what you're worth. Make 'em go.
Look at all the juices that are in there, and that is what I'm looking for. My goodness, look at that.
You don't have to look any further. Get online and you'll get any property.
It's all about joinery. How best do you give a tree a very good second life?
Because there's already development happening around.
Say, for example, carpets, thick, luxurious carpet, and you say, I've got to have a carpet wall-to-wall in my house, but we're a hot country.
Welcome to the Property Show, where we make real estate sense.
Throughout it
and gentlemen, Jesus came to set you free and to be free indeed.
In life, you don't wait. Yeah. There are certain times where you wait for certain decisions, but when it comes to taking action and choices, you have to move.
Jesus Christ found me, and he actually asked me a question, whether I wanted to live or to die.
Every day of my life was struggling. It's just that God has given me this kind of hope.
GXP every Sunday only on NTV, your official inspiration station.
This surprise, this moment, I have a gift for you. It's for you to know that you, Hilda, are so important in my life.
Pilar, I want to see where he hit you. Now look at me. Pilar.
I've been thinking about Leonardo and what happened to Corolla. But I still don't call you by someone else's name when we're about to make love.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
Well, we're glad you are still watching today, Tuesday, the 7th of July, 2015. Now, if you were born this day, you celebrate your birthday with a gentleman, Holly Kinamoti, a local gospel artist who has written on his Facebook page, "On this day I was born, God knew I was going to live to tell the whole world about his goodness in the land of the living. Happy birthday." And he's wondering if he should cut cake on 23rd August when he actually has an album launch. Well, we have one of his more popular songs, Jah Jehovah.
Jesus Christ, Son of God. You are welcome. That's why only can resist the beast. The beast can never beat me cause I chosen rest. The Baladian hand give one big heaven list. Who come about when they up another list? Run to the cross and find some rest. Jesus Christ, the number one priest. Jehovah, Almighty God lives. Jehovah, you're the mighty God. No matter what you're going, I'm ready to fight for. God is what is. You're the mighty God.
Happy birthday, Holy King Amoti, and from all of us here at the morning show. We now cross over to Brian for Everyday Life.
He's the tallest musician I know, and I guess you're saying that's misplaced talent. Should have played basketball and music. But also on this day, we remember that more than 50 people died in the UK as the trains there were blasted by terrorists, and also this time in 1976. The Entebbe airport was raided by Israeli forces. So we remember the people that have lost lives today, many years ago. But as you celebrate your birthday today, please do it responsibly. And of course, please remember to bring some cake for Morning at NTV will be here. In Uganda, the one who is celebrating the birthday buys the cake. So, yeah, we'll be waiting for that. Now, employers all over the world often complain about the shortage of appropriately skilled and qualified workers. Is Skilling Uganda meant to close that gap? We're going to look at that on Everyday Life.
Everyday Life
is brought to you by ICEA Group
and Star Times.
This morning is Nicholas Okwiri, the chairperson of Federation of Uganda Employers. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the show.
Good morning, viewers.
And Rosemary Senabulia, the executive director of Federation of Uganda Employers. Good morning.
Good morning, Brian.
The last time you were here, we were talking about minimum wage.
Yes.
That should be a success on your part, because a few months later, government, the Minister of Information comes out and says, okay, this is the committee. We have lost this battle.
Come on.
So good for you.
Yes.
That should be a success for you.
Yeah, it's a very big achievement. And we look forward for the board starting its work soon. So once it gets on the way, then we are assured that at least there will be some encouragement for the workers to put in more energy when they are doing what they are doing for the employer.
And also for the employer, he can now plan on his wage bill because he has a minimum wage to operate on.
Some employers were resisting the minimum wage.
Well, some, as you say, but it helps you in budgeting and planning. Yes.
This time around, we'd like to cover the lack of these adequate skills. And on the show, we talked a lot about how unemployable the graduates are. But you also have a bit of inclination to Skilling Uganda. What exactly is that for the benefit of our viewers?
Skilling Uganda is a long-term strategy which the government has come up. Some 3 years ago, the cabinet approved the 10-year BTVET strategic plan. Now, that strategy is meant to bring about a revolution in the vocational training in Uganda. Currently, majority of Ugandans look down on vocational training. And many of the parents, including yourself, I know you're a parent, you wouldn't like to send your child, your boy or daughter, to a vocational training institution. All of us are struggling, selling whatever little property we have to take our children to universities, which are now almost 40 in Uganda. And at the end of the day, they graduate with papers, they walk the streets of Kampala and wherever else without jobs. So what this program or the strategy is about is to change the mindset of all of us from thinking that sending children to vocational training schools is really, or vocational training schools are just for failures, academic failures. It's not the case. Not all children are really meant to become academicians. And at the end of the day, we don't need so many academicians because we need people who have hands-on skills, who can actually practically do what the employer wants to do. So this Skilling Uganda is a long-term strategy that is meant to change the mindset of Ugandans. It's also meant to change us from looking at qualifications, but focusing on competence. It is not the papers that do the work. It is the competence, it is the skills I have that at the end of the day will produce something. And we are advancing, the country is growing. We have discovered the oil. Why do we have to import people from other countries to come and work for us when we have a lot of unemployment, especially for the youth? But simply because they are lacking the required skills to go and work in this industry. So we have to work outside. How are you going to convince,
to change the mindset of even a parent who says, Makerere is the only place when my child doesn't reach there? That's it. I'm probably 1 in 10 guys whose uncles are electricians. They didn't have and when I look at them, I'm like, I probably should have been an electrician. They're earning well a lot. But the person in the village who says university is the ultimate, that's it.
That's where we need to go into sensitization of the public. And we need to come together with partners, government as a main player, and do a lot of education, change of that mindset. Because through mass media, through communication like the one we are doing now, it is very, very important that we as parents or as employers get to know what really is there out in the market. It is the hands-on job, not just that certificate. And you'll find that in the development, we're also trying to put in a fund. Now that fund is meant to offer scholarships and other to all, and is available to all Ugandans, not just the graduate or the dropout. All Ugandans is available. It's a paradigm shift, really, to try and get everybody on board. So the mindset is a big, big challenge, but we have to work on it. We can't sit back.
A 26-member reform task force was established. What is the duty of that task force?
The reform task force is actually 26-member. It has 14 members from the private sector, and then 12 from public service. And the public service here, we have the ministries, other departments from various other ministries, and then education development partners. Now, the main task of the Reform Task Force is really to establish an authority to supervise this work, a skills development authority. And that's its first priority. And this must be in place in the shortest period, actually within the next 18 months. In addition to that, you will also have to establish a skills development fund. Now, this fund is what we'll need for assisting. The fund will help in offering scholarships, and also in the training of trainers. Some of these vocational institutes have trainers who need retraining. What they have been producing in mass is not necessarily what we need. So we need also to start with them, train them first, and that's the fund. Now this fund will be subscribed to either together with the government and the employers. So we are thinking of something like a training levy to assist. All right, having done that, that authority has a role to play to monitor and evaluate what is happening in those vocational training institutes.
Right.
The target is to get quality, not just quantity.
That's very important. Yes.
Brian, you'll note in the composition of the Reform Task Force, the private sector is in a majority.
Yes.
Now, that was intended. Previously, vocational training has been laid by government. It's government which does this, which does that, which does that. But now, with that paradigm shift, the private sector has to be in the lead because it is the private sector which consumes majority of the products which are coming from what? From these institutions. Right. So it's very, very important that the private sector is in the driving seat as far as vocational training is concerned. We know the skills we want, we know the kind of products we want, so we need to be in the driving seat to make sure that we get out of these institutions the products that we want.
One of the issues has been access to these vocational institutions. I grew up in Chisubi, so I know Chisubi Technical School. I was privileged to see my uncles go there. Chambo go. I have friends who went and studied engineering, and they are excellent engineers. But what are you going to do when it comes to groups like people with disabilities, girls, because also few women are in vocational school, people living in these hard-to-reach areas? How are you going to reach them?
In actual fact, one of the policies, deliberate policy, is on the funding element. It's available to anybody, with emphasis on women and people with disabilities. That's where the emphasis is. Now, these institutions in themselves, infrastructure change. So funding is also going on infrastructure, so that a person with disability can access all the areas of training, not just the original limited where steps are the order of the day. The type of equipment we have is for people like you and me, but it's supposed to cater for everybody. So a lot of emphasis is being put on redesigning not only the syllabuses, but also the infrastructure of these institutions. The other part which I wanted to add is that government still has a very important role to play. The Reform Task Force reports the skilling Uganda is supervised by the Ministry of Education. It's now a longer education, science, technology, and sports.
Yeah.
But to show the importance government attaches to it, it is the office of the Prime Minister which appoints the chairman. I happen to be the chairman. I was appointed by the what? I was appointed on the Reform Task Force by the Prime Minister. So you see, the Prime Minister supervises all government institutions. That shows you the importance is being attached.
Right.
Much as the private sector is playing a lead role, that's the point that is taken into account.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, our viewers, you can contribute to this conversation by calling in live or go to our Facebook page, Morning at NTV. You can also tweet us at Morning at NTV and ask any question. This is important as we go towards 2040. The vision is amazing, but we're not just going to get there. You need to be a part of it, and vocational institutions are absolutely a part of this. I've talked to many people who are from the UK, where apprenticeship is important, yes. and that's where those countries are going. Yeah. I think this should be good. Now, one of the tasks of the task force is to curb the inefficiency of unnecessary fragmentation and costly duplication. Isn't this too much work? Can this be achieved?
Actually, as you say, yes. What is actually happening is that there are a lot of, out there, by the way, there are a lot of interested parties who want to join hands with government,
right,
in the Skilling Uganda project. That's where the duplication is that you have this other development partner wants to join in, there's this other one. Currently, we have the Belgian Technical Corporation and the World Bank participating very effectively in this work. And there are others, particularly in the oil sector right now. In the oil sector, there are a lot of people who want to come in and want to join. Now, what we want is to coordinate them so that we don't have everybody in the same place. We don't want, right now we have the Belgian Technical Corporation and the World Bank in the Albertine region, and down there, Fort Portal, Hoima, Masindi, and they're all interested. We have put in place one of the key elements of this development, that is we have skills sector councils. And the first one, which is already in place, is the oil one. Now, a lot of people are wanting to participate in that activity, funding it, participation. But we want all of it to be coordinated and managed. And the Reform Task Force is guiding, using, say, the Ministry of Energy to assist us.
Right.
So that is key and very important. Yeah. In our
and of course, that will be one of the major role of the Skills Development Authority once it is in place.
And to add on to that, the Skills Development Authority we have divided into certain sectors which we think are key in the country. Oil and gas, agriculture, infrastructure, manufacturing, and tourism. Tourism is growing. Now, sector councils are being developed, and we feel that if we go to agriculture, it is that portion. Agriculture knows what type of skills they require. So they are appointing 15-man member committee on those councils, and this is part of the Skills Development Authority. Oil and gas is already in place. Tourism is next, and tourism is growing. So that's the approach, so that we avoid duplication. So those on tourism will know where to go, and they'll work there. So are those in agriculture, manufacturing, and then oil and gas and minerals, so as I said, is already in place.
The BTVET is a 10-year strategic plan.
Yes.
It's now 2015.
Yes.
It's 5 years to go. And there seems to be no actualization of the SDA. What's the plan in the next 5 years? Are we able to meet that target?
Okay. Reform Task Force 1 started 1 year late, and its term ended last year. We are part of Reform Task Force 2. Now, what is already happened is that we have a draft for the formation of the strategic development, the Skills Development Authority. It is with the Ministry of Education and top management. We are following it up now. So us, as Reform Task Force 2, we want that in place within the next 18 months, actually, if possible, by July next year. Now, once the authority is in place, we think we shall have got things moving. The 10-year, the authority is not going to end in 10 years to now be the overall supervisor and monitor. So we just want to, the 10-year is the best start, and then it continues thereafter.
Any other targets in the next 10 years, even beyond 2020?
As I said, the skills development, skills sector councils are already moving, and we hope to have all of them, the 5 of them, in place by the end of August this year.
Is that achievable? That's next month,
yes,
literally.
Yes, it is achievable. We have written to the various sectors, as I've mentioned. As I've said, the oil and gas is already in place. 15 members have been appointed. The agriculture, tourism, manufacturing, and the infrastructure, we have written to those sector areas, and they are nominating their members, and they will be appointed, we hope, before the end of August.
And in most of these sectors, we have sector associations. So they are the easiest people to approach to request them to nominate the people who will be representing them on those sector councils.
Yes. Right.
Yeah, and they are very eager because they are also interested in it. Yeah, so it is possible to meet the target of end of August when all the 5
have them in place.
Are in place.
We always have this saying, African solutions for African problems. And most of these vocational institutions, I'm sure, are targeting young people. What's the composition on these councils for young unemployed people?
Now the councils, you need those with skills in those areas. That's what the councils are for. So those are the people who are going to assist the examination boards and the vocational technical institutes to develop and revise the
curricula.
The curricula. So we cannot bring in
the youth
yet.
Who don't have any skills.
Yes, the oral experience. It is not that they are not wanted. They will now benefit from revised curricula vitae, and their training will be relevant to the needs of the employer. So they will be more employable. So that's really the point. At the council, that's at the council, that's what we need. Other challenges, of course, are there, which we soon mention.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're just joining us, I am with Nicholas Okwiri, the chairperson of the Federation of Uganda Employers. Also, Rosemary Sednablia, who is the chairperson, who is executive director of Federation of Uganda Employers. You can join in on the conversation by going to our Facebook page, Morning at NTV. Also, tweet us at Morning at NTV, or call in live in the studio. We'll open up the phone lines, and you can participate in this. I'm sure it's not all gloomy. You know, it's not all roses, and you are talking about challenges. What are those?
It is not all roses, as you say correctly. Challenges are there. These sector skills councils need funding. So funding is one of the major problems. The secretariat which supports the Reform Task Force also needs funding. It is funded from the Consolidated Fund. It has a limited budget. This year it has a budget of only 900 million. Now what can you do with that? That's one thing you can do. But government has offered offices for the secretariat at Legacy House. Now the other challenges is the Skills Development Fund. How do you get that fund in place? Because everybody is to contribute. So the education development partners are ready to contribute, but they also need counterpart funding from government. And the employers, who are the other tripartite interested parties, also need to contribute. Now, how will their contribution come? We are working that out. Is it a training levy, off levy, or is it some sort of contribution in offering bursaries and such things? Those are issues that we need.
Most of the employers are chairing the task force. What's the contribution to that?
Why the employer is chairing the task force, I think is the question. See, the employer knows what type of skills it requires, the employers requires. So it is important that they have an input in the skills development. That's basically one thing, because you need, as an employer, to tell the trainers what type of people you need. So they will contribute, first of all, in directing the retraining of trainers. That's one. And also in the amendment or improvement on the curriculum, curricula for the schools. And then bringing on board the examination boards. So their output is relevant. It's not just, as I said earlier, quantity, but it's also quality that we are interested in. That's why we were actually asked to chair, and we were happy to do that. And then, as earlier I said, the private sector is the consumer of most of the outputs from
So
this
there
technical
is,
school.
And if I can add something on that,
Yeah.
I mean, if the employer is the one who is chairing in the lead, it will be very easy to convince a number of employers of the importance and relevance for them to contribute towards the fund. Yeah. So that is also.
So there is a plan, because you know, I'm envisioning I go train as a carpenter, as an electrician, as a metal worker, and then I can't be employed anywhere because you know no one's taking me. Is this the intentional plan of the authority, that maybe private sector can pick you up since they're already involved in the program?
We are actually
where
going
these
further.
people can be channeled.
We are going further. We are going to have you certified as a student who has come from these technical schools. And your certificate will have an international recognition. So that gives it a lot of backing. You can be employed not only within Uganda, you can also within the East African region and further. So standards is also a key thing. Currently, you just get out and there you are. I am a graduate from Kisubi Technical College or Kiambogo. That's it, but your certificate is not recognized.
Right.
The oil people require that recognition, and that's what we are going to bring on board new. Yeah.
All right, we'll open up the phone lines. Call in your question. Please step away from your TV and ask our guests this morning. Good morning. You're live on Morning at NTV. Good morning. All right. We're talking about challenges. You say you have you don't have funding. What are the other challenges? Also, the president promised, you know, action very soon. Should we expect the same thing? You know, 2-3 years into this, nothing will be done. Before we know it, it's 2020. Then we are fast-tracking stuff. Also, what do you need government to do in order to fast-track skilling Uganda?
Now,
of course, yeah. Go ahead.
One thing the government should do, most especially the Minister of Education, the chair mentioned that the skilling has been allocated 900 million this year. But getting that money is also a tug of war.
Even the little?
Even the little that has been allocated, getting it out is a very, very big problem. So if only they could expedite releasing that little they've given the sector, then it would help to ease the work which is being done by the Reform Task Force.
What budgets are we talking here? Because we may be talking 2 billion and you're getting 900. I was talking to someone whose budget is 6 billion
This is
and they're working with 400 million.
You see, what you are saying is quite correct. 900 million is running the secretariat only.
Only.
But there are a lot of activities that Reform Task Force must do. One, it must visit other countries so that they can find best practice. We don't want to sit here and continue drafting something when there are areas out there where you can get this information and come and apply it.
Right.
We are lucky that through funding from the Belgian Technical Corporation, the first group went. They have been to Belgium, they have been to Rwanda, they went to South Africa, and it is this that is needed, best practice. That's part of the challenges, funding. The other challenges is there's a lot of talk about skilling Uganda, and the president talks about it. So there are high expectations from the public. How do you manage it? Now, managing that with a limited envelope, you know what that means. Tomorrow you'll say, Mr. Query, you have been talking about this, there's nothing in place. That's the other challenge. Right. Then the other challenge we have is that we have institutions who are running, people who are running these institutions, and people who are also managing these examination boards. How do you convince them that they are part of this development, having an authority? You are not replacing them. That is creating fear. And the truth is that they are not going to be replaced. We have now managed that. So we need to organize workshops, high-level workshops to bring these people in together with ministry officials so that we assure everybody that you all have a role to play. The Skills Development Authority is not replacing anybody. In fact, it's creating employment because you need to have people to manage. And the good thing is that anybody on the task force, we have been assured today, is not eligible to apply to join that organization.
That's good.
So you said, Brian, that is managing change.
Managing change.
Because skilling in Uganda is bringing about a lot of change. And most of us fear change.
Yes.
So the kind of resistance that comes when you're introducing new things is also a challenge skilling Uganda is facing.
Right. Rose, last word. Any last word from you?
The last word is to encourage all Ugandans to change the mindset and know that it's only when we equip our children with the requisite skills that's the only gold we are digging for them. Let's not concentrate on sending to university, but let's properly guide these children so that if they have practical skills, they end up in vocational training institutions, and at the end of the day, they will end up getting good jobs.
Right.
Yeah. So let's change our mindset.
Their own jobs.
And they can create their own jobs.
Right.
Yeah. So let's not go for papers. Let's go for skills and competences.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll add an experience of a parent. An example was given in Hoima, where a parent, the daughter came and said, "Mommy, I'm going for rare dressing instead over my dead body." Then the counselor told her, "Madam, where do you do your hair?" She said, "That salon." "Do you know that person?" "She does my hair." "Where was she trained?" "I don't know." "Here's your daughter asking you to go to a vocational training school to be trained."
Yeah.
So that you are
do
sure.
That hair of yours.
When your hair is being done, you are half asleep, you are sure you are safe.
Yeah.
That is the confidence you get. The child eventually did that and is doing a wonderful job.
Well, I'm telling you, I know some hairdressers who
She's
earn,
employed.
What I earn in a month is what they earn in a day.
But Brian, you know what the mother wanted the child to do? Go and do business administration.
Only.
And at the end of the day, you walk the streets with your papers, NTV, here, no job.
And they tell you either overqualified or we're not taking
But she's now employed.
She's doing good business. That's a live example.
Skilling Uganda could be that prayer you've been, praying about. I know guys who have walked the street for more than 5 years looking for a job. I've taken on some people, but how many people can actually employ you? This is an opportunity for you to get a job, to start something where your skill can be utilized. Okay. Make sure you go to our Facebook page for more of this, and of course we'll be uploading this interview in case you've missed it on our YouTube channel in a couple of minutes. When we come back, we're going to be talking to Aisha about the latest sport. Stay with us.
In this financial jungle, you need an ally. Welcome to the new ICEA Group, your one-stop shop for all your insurance, pensions, and investments.
Start time or Wakabiwo mu digital TV. For more information, call 117-117-700. Start time, affordable digital television.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
Man, my black man. He's the six on the dice, he's as hot as the spice, he's my Afro-man spice. He's my tea masala, pilau masala, and sala. The Afro-man spice show.
10th July, National Theatre.
It's time to take action to end child marriage in Uganda. Nearly 50% of 20 to 49-year-old women in Uganda today were married by the age of 18. That's 3 million women in Uganda today. That's many dreams crushed. Every night from June 29th to July 8th, 2015, watch a series of features that will explore the issue of child marriage and its consequences in Uganda. And we want to know your story. How are you or somebody you know contributing to end child marriage in Uganda? Tell us on at NTV, at UNICEF, at YouReport, and potentially be featured on NTV. It's time to take action to end child marriage in Uganda. Hashtag end child marriage UG.
Suraj, please help me out. Babu was accusing you of some necklace that has gone missing from the house.
Santya,
what you intend to do and what you don't. I don't have the patience and the strength to understand that anymore.
All these allegations were leveled against me. Then, how can I feel happy today? My reputation was maligned by everyone.
I firmly believe that she's a liar. She's not innocent.
Leave her hand right now!
I will not.
I will make their life miserable if anyone tries to touch or see my sister. Got it?
I will not listen to you. No way.
Oh no, what should I do now?
Made for each other, every Monday to Friday, 6:30 p.m.
You don't have to look any further. Get online and you'll get any property.
It's all about joinery. How best do you give a tree a very good second life?
Because there's already development happening around.
Say, for example, carpets, thick, luxurious carpet, and you say, I've got to have a carpet wall to wall in my house, but we're a hot country.
Welcome to the Property Show, where we make real estate sense.
I've been preparing this for you for days. This surprise. Watch out.
Dad, someone's here.
I didn't really come to talk to you, Javier. It's Pilar I wanted to talk to. Have you got a minute? I came to offer you a job.
Watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
Yesterday, Uganda played Malawi. Friendly, we lost the match. But do we take any lessons? Joining me is Aisha. Good morning.
Good morning, Brian.
What are we taking from this?
We are taking the fact that we played a friendly, and I think any competitive game is good in terms of the Uganda Cranes. You need to be match fit, especially in situations where now the league is off. So that means there will not be as many games going on, and the leagues are off all across Europe as well, even for the professional players that would have a chance too. We lost that game eventually, but I think that's the beauty of friendlies, is you have a chance to try out, and you don't really have the pressure. You have a chance to try out the different players. And I think for Mitchell, the lessons will be, because Malawi is a pretty good side, and I think the lessons will be what to do differently when they do have their away fixture next in the AFCON qualifiers. Yes.
Well, let's talk rugby. There is an afternoon kickoff tomorrow.
Yes. I do not think so. First of all, well, the union has had a couple of issues as well, and I don't think so, especially seeing as the weather has been in Kampala very recently. That game is on at Legends tomorrow, by the way, against Mauritius. But I think in terms of if you want advantage Uganda, I don't think it was wise to put that game at midday on a Wednesday, because you'd think that you want to perhaps play last, so that one, you have the fans coming in as early as possible as in the evening, because it is a working day, make no mistake about it, so people will be working. So later on in the evening, it's so much easier to break off at say 4 and then go down to Legends and watch the game. Two, I think in terms of weather, especially it being rugby, 15s rugby is no mean feat trying to battle it out in that blistering sun. You'd think the boys would be used, but I think at the end of it all, it's going to still be a tough fixture. Mauritius were horrible in their first fixture. I think only managed a try, if I'm not mistaken. So for Uganda, they've got to build up on that. And I think Mauritius is one of the weaker sides in the competition. They didn't start off too well. Remember, it's accumulated points, so it's going to be imperative how much points you're actually getting at the end of the day. So you have to get as many points off some of these sides as is possible for you to stand a chance to eventually qualify for the Tier 1A, which is the ultimate goal of why they are playing in this competition. So it's still going to be tough, but a lot of mixed results, because that game is at midday tomorrow. Then of course Senegal will be up against Botswana and Madagascar up against Ivory Coast later on at 4 p.m. But yesterday, something good coming out for the Rugby Cranes, because the Nile Special USPA Sports Personality of the month of June, they managed to win that one, garnering 415 points by virtue of the fact that they did win the Elgon Cup against Kenya last month. So they did win the Nile Special USPA Personality for the month of June, beating out on Vision Volleyball Club and of course Farouk Dahoud. There were recommendations for SC Villa for winning the Uganda Cup in controversial fashion, albeit, but recommendations are the same, and the Uganda Cranes for beating Botswana and Tanzania as well, and Kawempe for winning the Women's Elite League football. So they were all recognized by the Uganda Sports Press Association.
All right, let's talk the Airtel National Basketball Leagues. The second round fixtures are out. Who do the winners face?
The top of the table, they are not winners yet, maybe winners for the first round. The leaders of this table, but they will be taking on a Falcon side, 8:30. YMCA is when the second round actually tips off. This
Tomorrow
is basketball.
Or today?
No, Friday.
Friday. KIU against
Falcons at 8:30 p.m. Down at YMCA. And of course, in the women's category, KIU will be up against A1 Challenge at 6:30 p.m. That will be the earlier fixture as well. Sunday, we'll see the games moving to the UCU campus, where UCU will be up against our savior at 6 p.m. And UCU, the women, Lady Cannons, will be up against Magic Stormers at 4 p.m. So the fixtures are out, and you will have access to them. I'll be talking more about them on Friday when the games do actually tip off.
Yes. Anderson went 2-up on Djokovic in the Wimbledon 2015 match. What happened eventually?
Eventually, the game did not end because of bad light. So we have to come back today and wait, and they go into the last one. No, but it came from 2 sets down. That's got to be huge by all standards, I think. If you're world #1 and at this stage, you're coming up against a South African, Kevin Anderson, I think it was pretty lucky for him to eventually come out and win the next 2 sets, and almost convincingly as well in there. So it's tough times for him, but there were much easier times for Andy, who went on to beat Ivan Karlovic by 3-1 eventually. He'll be meeting the unseeded Canadian Vasek Pospisil in the quarter-final of the Wimbledon, and because Pospisil beat upon Troik, Richard Gasquet beat upon Nick Kagriakos, who was such a child and such a bad-mannered player. If you watch this game, he was so petulant in decisions not going his way. Eventually, he threw the game because he served into the net where he didn't need to. And Stanislas Wawrinka also beating up on Goffin to go into the next round. And Marin Cilic beating up on Denis Kudla. In the women's section, a few of those pictures that you saw there, those Williams sisters, we know who the winner was eventually, Serena Williams.
As expected.
As expected. In 2 sets, imperious form. Venus is not the Venus of old. 2-0 it was, 6-4, 6-3, the eventual one. But she said so many good things about Serena, about Venus, how she is forever an inspiration to her, how, you know, they've always been together, even when they were like the only 2 black players in this elite white sport at some stage. They always had each other, and I think they've all had success at certain stages of their careers. Now it's about Serena because she is much younger, but I think Venus really did dominate, especially at Wimbledon. On those grass courts, she was superb, the Venus of then. So, yeah, so it's bye-bye to a legend. There was a survey going on.
Like, you know, I'm imagining you're playing your sister. Do you bring your A game on and say, let me just beat the crap out of this girl?
You have to. She was serving real big, and as well, she was really playing as the Serena game, as you'd like to imagine, giving it her all. I think at the end of the day, you're still competitive. You're still a winner. She still has that killer instinct for Serena. So you're not giving away any points on that accord. I think perhaps the organizers, this should have come a little bit much later, but I think obviously no one expected Venus to go this far in the competition. But Sharapova also winning against Diaz. Then there are 3 Americans in the quarterfinal draw, by the way, of the women's section. Serena, Coco, and Madison Keys, who is there by virtue of beating up on Govotsova in 2 sets to 1. Then, of course, Radovanska also beating up on Jelena Jankovic. Victoria Azarenka beat up on benches. She's going to meet Serena Williams in the quarterfinal. Then we also saw Karen Wozniacki getting knocked out by Muguruza, the girl from Spain. So the quarterfinal draw, the women's, is all set out. Madison Keys up against Radovanska. Serena Williams will be up against Victoria Azarenka. Then Sharapova takes on the other American. Coco is what she is called. Then Muguruza will be up against Bazinski as well.
All right, let's talk some transfers. There are talks of Nani, Pilar, Schneiderlin, Raphael, Milner. What else?
Some done, some not done. Andrea Pirlo unveiled. He was unveiled at New York City.
Oh my
He's going to be playing in the MLS. I mean, all that experience, all that talent.
Time to make money.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in the evening of your career, you've got to start to do that as well. So he'll be joining guys like David Villa, who already play for the same club, Frank Lampard. That's their money-making stint. Like, you go there, it's American football, get your cash. Thierry Henry, guy looks good. But you know, you go there, get your money, MLS. That's where all the players retired, there in Qatar. So that's like a good thing. James Milner being unveiled at Liverpool is supposed to fill the void that Steven Gerrard left. If he does manage to do that, Raphael said to leave Manchester United after inquiries from Fiorentina and Napoli, and United are willing to let him go. Schneiderlin, Ronald Koeman says they did receive a £20 million bid from Manchester United, but they wanted it increased, and United has not said anything as well. And Nani completing his move to Fenerbahce, £3.5 million bid.
All right, there you have it. 1:30 p.m. Omumuli will be here with Lumansi and Alan and Isma. Make sure you catch that. Of course, for the latest, go to our YouTube channel and watch some of the stuff you've missed at NTV Uganda. And you can also download NTV Mobi. The analog signal is not on. So catch us wherever you are on your handset, NTV Mobi, and download it there and watch us. For any of these, go to our Facebook pages and Twitter and get all the latest. My name is Brian Mlondo. Until tomorrow, we'll catch you. Friday Nakas is coming up with Master Ntia. Bye-bye.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Molondo.
Bamutasa Habo Joint Research Center abakugu mu kunoonyereza n'okujjanjabisa eddagala n'emmere y'obutonde bategeeza abantu bonna abatawaanyizibwa endwadde ez'enjawulo okujja bafune obujjanjabi okuva eri abakugu baffe era nga bamala kukebera n'oluvannyuma ne bakuwa obujjanjabi obukwatagana n'obulwadde obukuluma.
Okumanya ebisingawo bakubire ku ssimu oba basange ku
Kalungi Plaza, 3rd floor, room 311.
Effective Monday, 6 July, screening time for your favorite drama series, The Hostel, is Monday at 7:35 p.m. Behind Closed Doors will air Wednesday to Friday at 8:05 p.m. and repeats on Saturdays at 3 p.m. Brave Woman will be showing on Tuesdays and Wednesdays at 10 p.m. and repeats will air on Thursdays and Fridays at 11:30 a.m.
Thank you so much for joining us and welcome to Designing Your Destiny. My name is Doreen. So today I'd like us to discuss whether setting goals is really that important. Countless times have I heard very successful people say it's important that you and I are goal-oriented. Until I took a deep interest into understanding the way our brains work. So then I really got to understand the importance and the vitality of you and I being goal-oriented. What do I mean by that? Now, our brains have a small finger-like organ that we call the reticular activating system. Now, this reticular activating system is pretty much like a gatekeeper for your brain. It lets in the information that it considers important to you. Now, when it does that, it works hand in hand with the prefrontal cortex, which I talked about in the first segment, to then rechannel the resources of your brain to that thing that's important to you. Zig Ziglar once said, if you don't set your goals, you'll then be what he calls a wandering generality, accomplishing little or nothing. You know, when NASA was working on putting a man on the moon, they had a very big picture of the moon covering the entire wall of their construction area. Everyone was clear on the goal that they wanted to accomplish, and they accomplished it 2 years ahead of time. So here's the thing, take some time today. If you've not done so, take some time today to write down a clear description of how you plan to accomplish your dream. Write down specific goals that you will take to design the life that you envision. Thank you so much for watching and have yourselves a very beautiful day.
On the next episode.
Do you think I'm crazy? She will make the puppets. I cannot believe it.
Huh? Oh, Santosh. So you think I'm crazy? I am mad? Listen, Santosh, whether you believe it or not, all these papads have not fallen from the sky. Huh? Listen, Santosh, Sandhya dear has really made all these papads by herself. I'll tell you one thing, Santosh. The papads she has made, you should get the credit for it.
Is brought to you by
Detto. Be 100% sure.
Mwasize mutya ye program kwoli twayingidde odda eddakiika si nnyingi eziise ku ssaawa 3. Mbaaniriza nnyo mujebale gyonna leero 7 olunaku lwakubiri tuketera kola ku nsonga ya byabulamu. Leero tugenda tunulira akawuka akamukenenya n'enzijanjaba yaako atannakafuna nywera azenweekuume yakafuna toggwamu ssuubi osobola okubeera nako ate bulungi n'okola n'ebyo aba batakayina bye basobola okukola. Mikwano gyange leero bangi abakozeza amazaalibwa. Doreen Mubiru, happy birthday. Patrick Mukasa kazaala bwana naye wazaalibwa lwaleero. Semugenze Sulaiman Omagor Geoffrey, Ahmed Bogere Masembe ne Bruno Berakwate babadde bangi ne bonna mbadde sisobola kubamenya nemba malayo tubagaliza amazaalibwa amalungi agajjudde essanyu tubatumidde nnyo yonna gye musinziira okutulaba munyiikidde mwebale nnyo amasimu mugakuba so nga n'obubaka mubuweereza ku Facebook mwongere okubuweereza mutubulire na biki bye mwagala mbanoonyeze oyo abyogerako ebibakwatako obutereevu mwasiza mutya. Olwaleero tugenda kwogera ku kawuka ka mukenenya nga bwe nakutegeezezza edda. Oluusi tumanyi kawuka kano kyekiki abamu bakyakatwala nga ak'okusaaga naye nga kaakawuka gye kali mubiwulidde emisomo mugiwulidde minisitule egezezzaako ennyonnyodde abantu naye wakyaliwo abakitwala nga ekyokusaaga naye wadde si kyakusaaga bwe kiba nga kyakulya tukola tutya. Nina Dr. Yasin Ziwa oli ajjanjabisa obutonde mukwano gwaffe tutera okubeera nnyo naye wano agenda kwongera otunnyonnyola ku zimu ku nzijanjaba ez'akawuka kano abamu eddagala mulinywa bubi muligayalirira kayongere atutangaazeeko kubira munno ayinza okubeera interested mu mboozi eno oba ku mulamwa guno naye ateekeko NTV abeeko kyayiga. Dr. tukwaniriza.
Wamu nange nnyabo ndi musanyufu nnyo okuba nti nate nkomyewo ku mpewo za NTV. Abalabi baffe naddala bali mwezi guno ogwa Ramadan ku ludda olw'obusiraamu ziri ennaku z'omwezi 19 omwezi ogw'omwenda 2036 zennaku z'omwezi ez'omwezi ogw'omwenda ate ne mwezi omuganda olwaleera 19 n'omwezi ngwerabiddemu obaona ogunzijukiza naye mwezi omuganda naye zennaku z'omwezi mu luganda era ziri 19 n'ezekiwarabu ziri 19 okujjako ezaffe ez'ekijirigooli ziri ennaku z'omwezi 7 nga bw'oyanjudde. Yenze Ziwa Semirimu Yasini gemannya gange Dadige yantuuma Kalamatende Serinyabbi Mawokota ag'emirimu yenze Dr. Ziwa oba Health Living Ambassador abayita mu embassy. Yes, abayita mu embassy eno yenze mbakulembedde mu embassy eno Health Living Ambassador mbakunga okubeera nga mugiyingira nga bwe tugenda okulaba. Sister oyogedde ku bantu bali abadde ku Facebook kuliko omwami omu mutumidde nnyo ye Ahmed Bogere Masembe mukwano gwange nnyo Subi FM Subi FM omanyi gwe ndi nnyo tukwagaliza amazaalibwa malungi Ahmed Bogere Masembe n'abalala.
Okay. Dr. tutandike n'okunyonyoka akawuka kano tuwulira wali akawuka ka HIV akaleeta obulwadde bwa mukenenya tunnyonnyole.
Okusookera ddala ekigambo akawuka bw'ogamba akawuka oba abantu kyebava bakayita ak'olusaago mbu kawuka tetugamba kawuka gawuka bwe tunagamba kawuka ako kaziwa ako kagundi kagamba omuntu aba kakkanyiza ekintu naye gawuka olwenjagadde tunagenda okuva wano ng'okitegedde ddala nti gawuka. Kale mu njogera ennyangu tusooke tukitwale bwe kityo kuba kyekyabukala amatu gaffe. Okusookera ddala ekigambo siriimu kigambo kya luzungu ekitegeeza okukendeera shrinking okukendeera okukogga the slimming. Abazungu ne bakayita ka virus akawuka ka virus era ebigambo bino nsaba tugenda okuva wano manyi balina ekkalaamu n'empapula n'ebitabo muwandiika tuwandiike ennaku z'omwezi tuzigala 27 n'abasomesa njagala twetegereze bwe tugende mpola mpola tutegere ensonga zino. Ddala akawuka weekali gw'abadde ali mu kusaaga kimanyi nti akawuka weekali naye akawuka kano ebyafaayo bwe osomye ku byafaayo byako kaalimu okwongerwamu bakola kakole nyinza obutagenda nnyo mu kusima nnyo deep baani abaakakola naye nga is a reality kyekituufu ekiriwo. Era myaka gye katandikira mu myaka gya 39 bwe batandikira gundi kwongeramu amaanyi ebintu bingi abantu abamu babyongeramu amaanyi naye nga njagala omanye ekigambo kye bayita HIV kigwayo obwerinzi bw'omuntu nga bukkakkanyiziddwa
Human immune deficiency.
Human ye muntu. Immune bwebwerinde bw'omubiri. Virus
deficiency
ke kawuka ka virus ke bayita virus. Kati nga mu Luganda olutuufu kigamba nti omuntu bw'aba n'akawuka kano ne kakkakkanya obwerinde bwe ne kiba nti nno agenda kufuna AIDS. AIDS si ke kawuka wabula bwe bubonero.
Oba bwe bulwadde obuva obuleetebwa akawuka.
Exactly. Bwe bubonero obuleetebwa akawuka kale oyinza okugaa nti bwe bulwadde. Era abantu bangi babeera ne AIDS nga tebayi HIV positive. Naye nga walinga tukyali ku HIV positive njagala abantu baffe tutegeere mpola ebintu bino. HIV tugambye human immune virus. Kitegeeza buno obuwuka bwa mu bantu. Tulina
ogambye nsobola okubeera ne AIDS nga siri HIV positive.
Yes.
How possible?
AIDS tugambye bwe bubonero. Okuddukana ako kabonero. Omuto okuluma kabonero. Naye tebitegeeza nti nno omuntu waddukana, muntu waluma omuto, omuntu waluma omusujja aba ali HIV positive. Kitwagadde okutegeera, kitwagadde abantu baffe bakimanyi. Ti omuntu abeera ne AIDS. AIDS bwe bubonero, kitegeeza symptoms. Musujja, mutwe, kuddukana, omuntu asobola okukenena naye nga tali HIV positive.
Kyebava bakayita HIV AIDS.
HIV stroke AIDS.
Ng'oli positive.
Ng'oli positive. Ate era kiri ekigambo HIV positive, HIV human immune virus.
Human immune deficiency.
No. Human HIV human immune virus. HIV. Naye bwe bamala okukebera omuntu asobola okubeera ne HIV bwe bubanga bukyali butono tebannabulaba. Bwe bamala obulaba nga buyitiridde obungi ne bateekako positive. Naawe osobola okubeera awo n'ogenda mu ddwaliro lyonna ne bakukebera ne bagamba ayina omusujja. Bw'aba ayina omusujja mubeera plus.
Okulaga obungi bw'omusujja.
Okulaga obungi bw'omusujja. Naye nga human immune virus positive okubeerako positive
buba buyitiridde.
Naye omuntu asobola okubeera ne ka HIV human immune virus akalina naye nga tebuyitiridde. Era ebyuma tebajja biraba. Ebyuma bigamba negative. Naye ng'okalina. Era kyova olaba ebintu bino bisatu nsaba tubitegeere. Waliwo kye bayita HIV ekyo kimu. Waliwo kye bayita AIDS ebyo bibiri. Okukebera bw'ogenda mu ddwaliro okukebera okukakasa nti nno oli positive bakozesa method bagiyita ELISA. ELISA kigwayo enzyme linked immunosorbent assay. Sorbent katubireke byalo Latin byalo Greek ne assay tubireke. Ne tujjeyo manyi tuwandiika ELISA bakiwandiika ELISA ELISA oba ELISA. Mulimu ennyukuta emu eri common mu bigambo ebyo ebisatu HIV ne AIDS ne ELISA. Ennyukuta ogirabye? Mugirabye ndowooza ye I. Ennyukuta eyo giteeke wali wabbali. Yesta eyimiriddewo ku lwa immune. Bw'ogenda mu ddwaliro nga bwe tugambye ye method gye bakozesa yenkola gye bakola baleeta embeera eyo baga ELISA bakozesa method eyo bagiyita ELISA. Ne bakuggyako samples z'omusaayi ne bakebera. Bwe bazuula nti nno antibodies
obulwanyisa obulwadde
bwe buwuka obulungi obutambulira mu musaayi obukuwa amaanyi busobole okulwanyisa virus oba bacteria obuwuka bwonna obw'enjawulo bwebo Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bwe yatukolera mu mubiri gwaffe babuyita antibodies. Bwe bazuula nti nno buli wansi bukendedde nnyo nga bakuteeka ku kika ky'eddagala X. A method gye bagiyita western blot ate awo gye bakozesa abasawo mubimanyi bulungi nnyo. Kakati we twawukaniramu katono wesikkiriziganya n'abantu abamu kwe kuddira antibodies zino okuzongeramu amaanyi abatulaba antibodies ezo zongeramu amaanyi twetaagisa nnyo okukozesa ebintu eby'obutonde. Kwa antibodies namu ziri mu mubiri omulamu zeetaaga ebintu ebiramu okuzongeramu amaanyi. Antibodies tugambye bwe buwuka obulungi Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bwe yakkolera mu mubiri gwo obulina okuguboostinga weyongeremu amaanyi gusobole okulwanyisa endwadde ziri obubonero buli bulemu okukwata bwe twayise AIDS. Akati awo enjawukanira n'abalala bagamba nti ate bakola ensobi ennene nnyo ne bakuteeka ku kino ne bagamba ky'olina okubaako kyokka biri ebirala bireke. So nze ŋŋamba tukozese byombi, tukozese ebintu bibiri. Eddagala liteeke mu mubiri gwo. Waliwo ekika ky'eddagala kye bayita ARVs. ARVs kiggwayo antiretroviral. Yes, antiretroviral. Nti anti kitegeeza ekintu ekirwanyisa anti-terrorist. Oyo aziz alwanyisa. Retrieve, to retrieve, that's to reinforce, okwongeramu amaanyi. To rejuvenate, okwongeramu amaanyi. ARVs. Zempeke ze baakola ezongeramu amaanyi mu buwuka buli obulungi obulamu. Busobola okulwanyisa obuwuka. Mbagambe wenjawukanira n'abantu kwe kugamba nti nno mira ekyo kyokka awo sikkiriziganya. Wabula ngamba byombi bikole ki? Bitambulire wamu.
Waliwo wogambye nga sinagenda nnyo ku byeddagala, waliwo wogambye ne bakebera ng'obuwuka buli bukyali butono. Results zidanga oli negative. Ndowooza we basinzira okugamba nti ddayo emirundi emirala 2.
Exactly. 3.
Ati guno ogumu gusoose oddeyo emirala 2 giwera 3. Bakakasize
emirala 2. Yes, very good. Bakakasize ddala. Kubanga tukirabyeko abantu bangi be bacekinze. Bwe bamala mucekinga olwaleero na jubilatinga. I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. Tugenda okuwulira nti ate byasoba. Kati malayo emirundi 3 gye bakulagira gimaleeyo, take time. Bw'oba ogenda okwegatta ne munno take time kubanga mwasazeewo ne mukkiriziganya. Take time temupapa. Kwaka akawuka tugambe gyekali tekannaggwayo ate naddala mu Uganda. Mu Uganda batugamba okusinziira ku kunoonyereza 2011 zaali miliyoni obutuntundu 7.2% ku population ya Uganda. Population ya Uganda by then twali miliyoni 3.1. Kati yakitegeeza nti abantu kumpi miliyoni 1.5
nga balwadde.
Ate
na alipoota yalaze mbu era kazeemu luli baali balinga bakakkanyiza ate kazeemu.
Anti okusoma tekubadde abantu bali reluctant bagamba byaggwawo n'eddagala gyeriri obudomola gyebuli badokitazi baba natuwa obudomola tekikutaasa ki? Tekikutaasa wabula olina okumanya kubanga ekigambo ffe tutera nnyo okugamba abantu nti education is better than medication. Kyekyo
okusoma
kuyigiriza abantu
yes
kusingira ddala obujjanjabi. Era tugamba n'abantu nti HIV ono ne AIDS nga batulabye nti AIDS bwe bubonero. ELISA ye method gye bakozesa okukujjanjaba byonna ekigendererwamu byonna kulinnyisa immune system y'omubiri gwo.
Okay, doctor. Kati tugenda ku mulamu naye tutegedde engeri y'akalwadde kano gye bakakebera mu fine. Ozuuliddwa nti okayina. What do you do next? Tukomawo esimu muzitegeke ne ku page mugende mutekeke ekibuuzo tulaba oba doctor atuddamu tovaawo.
A day. That's why I've given him Data Soap's non-stop protection, which gives him 24 hours protection from germs. In the morning, when he faces germs. Afternoon, when he's up to mischief. Playing in the evening. Non-stop protection keeps going on and on.
Indeed, Dettol Soap's non-stop protection formula has the power of Dettol, which gives non-stop protection from germs for 24 hours.
All day and all night.
Mother's weapon for non-stop protection. Dettol, be 100% sure.
The supernatural realm of God is touching base with the earthly dimension through the office of the prophet. World events are being prophesied long before they come to pass, and they do come to pass just as precisely as they were seen.
One of them was the UPC. When a conflict arose, it became so much for the person who currently leads that party.
Now I see South Africa, and I see social unrest.
And the lives of individuals are being impacted, and their destinies are defined by the prophetic voice in our midst. It's time for all the walls of unbelief to crumble in the wake of such a clear manifestation of the supernatural realm.
Insects are known to carry sickness and diseases like malaria into our homes. So act now to protect your family with a solution from Mortein Doom. Start with the red Mortein Doom All Insect Killer. It has a high-tech formulation that works fast and for a long time, killing 100% of insects before they can hide. Sleep peacefully at night with the Mortein Doom Liquid Electrical Mosquito Repellent. Its unique power control switch lets you control the strength of repellent, effectively protecting against mosquitoes even in hidden places. The black Mortein Doom Crawling Insect Killer in a spray or powder kills cockroaches and other crawling insects fast and creates a barrier which continues to kill for up to 6 months. Protect your family against disease-causing insects. Act early with a solution from Mortein Doom. Brand power, helping you buy better.
Brave woman.
You what? I said that I solved it, so I solved it.
Well, at least this case leaves a clue. A clue that we could follow. An unprotected clue. Santiago. Let's put this guy through the ringer. Let's investigate all the connections that he ever had, all right?
Attorney Stenio. He got him released about 3 times, right?
Ha!
Why are you still here? I told you I don't want to hear about Morena. I won't listen to what you have to say.
But Morena is in danger, Theo.
What danger, Sheila?
Oliku mwasize mutya twogera ku kawuka akaleeta mukenenya tulabye engeri gye bakakeberamu naye kati twagala tulabe enzijanjaba dokita ngenze baŋŋambye ndi bulungi ngenze ndidde enkoko yange naye waliwo no munnange gwe bagambye nti kyamulya atandikirawa
bwe bakakutema nti kaakulya oba babeera bakakutemi kaakuyoola kaakufenkenya nze nkugamba siriimu tatta
anti mwe mubagamba mutyo nabo ne
siriimu tatta pressure tezitta sukaali tatta ekitta omuntu ekitwala omuntu stress kasita bakakutema nobeera stress eki nolobera n'ebirowoozo ebitunuza endali ng'oli negative byonna byotuna byonna olaba ntaana olaba kufa owedde depression owedde stress buli lolobeera no depression stress
anti depression eva mu stress
twagadde biganda wale buli onobeera n'okweraliikirira okutunuza endali buli kimu olaba nti gwe owedde era ogenda kuva ku nsi eno tulekere amatooka agawooma mangu tugamba tutya bwebanga bamaze okukakutema tuukirira abasabo bo mwennyini oyo yennyini osooka omubuuza
tebatera kutanga tebannakubuulirira
era bino byebakuwulidde biteeke mu bwongo kuba tulaba bangi abawangadde waliwo mukama wange Lulangaranga oyo tumwogerako buli bwe tubeera ye atugamba amazina akantu ako for more than 25 years talina stress yatta bannaye sirimu tatta yakikkiriza kati bw'okikkiriza when you admit it n'okukkiriza nti kyekyo alhamdulillah n'otambuza obulamu bwo nga weebuuza ku bantu Dr. Zwa magezi ki tambula bwenti nti era abantu bangi abawangaddewo buli lwobeera ne stress buli lwobeera n'okweraliikirira kuno senkulu w'omubiri gwagenda kufa senkulu w'omubiri omumanyi bamuyita DNA. DNA kigwa deoxyribonucleic acid. Deoxyribonucleic acid wo bw'anaabeera oyo senkulu w'omubiri gwo ye kamala byonna w'omubiri gwo. Akantu kali ka virus bwe kakuyingira oyo senkulu w'omubiri gwo asooka n'ayamba omubiri gwo okulwanisa endwadde zonna, ayina amaanyi, ali powerful. Naye ka virus bwe kamala okumuyingira bwe pa ne kamuyingira ono yennyini DNA wo n'ebirowoozo ebiri negative afumbirwa akawuka. Bw'afumbirwa akawuka kali ka virus n'akafumbirwa bw'ati we pa DNA wo atandika okukola opposite. Abadde akuresistinga, for instance bakuwadde omukuumi. Bw'aba bakuwadde omukuumi ewaka nga gw'otambula naye ne bamala bagamba bakwetaaga era bakunona mangu nnyo kubanga omukuumi woyo aba akola ki? Akumanyi from A up to Z. Kati DNA yo bwe bamala ogiwasa olw'ebirowoozo ebiri negative, AIDS agenda kujja. Obubonero bwonna bujje kuba twagambe AIDS kitegeeza bubonero. Obubonero bwonna bujje omusujja gukukwate. Anti eri stressed. Bw'obeera stressed DNA oyo abadde akukuuma naye ali down kati afumbiddwa. Yandibadde alwanyisa kati ate aleeta buleesi. Yandibadde resisting aleeta buleesi. Otandika okuddukana. Otandika okukenena. Bw'obaamu n'ekibayita stigma. Stigma kyeki? Okuboolebwa. Abantu bakwogerako ziwanno mumula. Kamuyoola dda si bukootikooti obwo. Bw'okiwulira ekyo nawe n'okiteeka mu bwongo obwo owedde. Kakati amagezi ge tukuwa beerako beebuuza. Tunoonye. Genda mu basawo bonna obeebuuzeeko. Bakuwa amagezi era nawe gatambulireko. Mu mbeera mu magezi ge tuba tukuwadde naddala ffe abajjanjabisa obutonde naturopathism nature tukukubiriza nnyo okuteeka mu mubiri gwe ebintu ebibisi. Ebintu ebibisi mulambuuza n'ebijanjaalo tulya bibisi kuba luli mwakimbuuza. Bwe twavaana bakubirese. Gwe doctors bo tugala tulya ebijanja, tulya ebintu ebibisi. Naye ebijanjaalo ebikalu tubiryenga bibisi nedda. Togeza n'oteeka mu lubuto lw'ekijanjaalo ekikalu nga kibisi. Tumala kubifumba. N'enfumba gye tulitegeeza abantu baffe. Kakati endya kikulu nnyo 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 nnyo. Era abantu bali abasawo begambye beesikwatagana nabo abamu. Abakuteeka ku mpeke zokka.
Yesu roza mbwaliwo omusawo akuteeka ku mpeke zokka. Bagamba geromira eddagala lino naye lya bulungi. Bagaana eddagala lino ery'obutonde. Tebalikkiriza. Bagamba lya bulungi ate namwe mugamba kulya bulungi.
N'okunywa n'eddagala. Kwanga tukugamba kola omululuuza guyenge gwatulaba guteeke mu mubiri gwo. Mululuuza mulimu ki? Mulimu phytonutrients. Phytonutrients bye birungo ebiyamba omubiri gwo omusaayi gwo okugongeramu amaanyi. Mu musaayi twalabyemu ki? Twalabyemu dda antibodies. Antibodies bwe ziba nga ziri wansi naawe ogenda kufuna obukosefu obw'enjawulo. Kati omululuuza gw'otadde mu mubiri gwo gwongeddemu amaanyi. Nabiri byennyini bye mutugamba mu abasawo abamu abamu tutambula bulungi naye abamu osiŋŋaanira ddala omusawo n'akugamba no tolina kukozesa bintu byonna birala kino kyokka kyo.
Doctor, waliwo oli n'ava mu ddwaliro ne bamugamba avuddeyo results nga ziri positive. N'agenderawo ku pharmacy kuba yawulira nti omulwadde alina akawuka amiraceptrin. N'agenda n'amiraceptrin we ne yeebaka ewaka. Yeewadde eddagala.
Kino kiri dangerous test order. Kyamutawaana nnyo 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 okwejjanjaba kikyamu kubanga eddagala eryo lyetuteeka mu mubiri gwaffe lirina okuba nga lyasomesebwa abantu abakugu abamanyi balikozesa batya mu budde ki na mu budde ki. Naye ggwe ebbanga ly'onaamala nga olina ccente z'omu nsawo ne pharmacy omanyi weeri n'ogenda n'okwata ccente zino n'ogenda n'ogula eddagala X oba Septrin for instance kubanga bwe tuli ku AIDS HIV stroke AIDS gwe n'ogenda n'ogula empeke zino n'oziteeka mu mubiri gwo kino kya butaliimu mwannyinaze. Muganda wange mukulu wange ali eyo atulaba kyabujega nnyo tokikola kyewalire ddala.
Ali n'abatabala kye batamanyiza si buli alina akawuka kano amira eddagala eryo.
Exactly.
Oyina stage k'omirira.
Oyina stage k'otuuka ne bagamba nti kati gwe mira empeke nga bamaze okukozesa method eyo gye twagala gye bayita western blot ne baleka bakuteeka ku kika ky'eddagala bwe kiti ne bakebera ne bakebera CD4 counts zo. CD4 cell division kagamba nayo bintu biri ebyalusawo naye era byebimu ebiyamba ku bwerinzi bw'omubiri. CD4 counts bezibanga ziri
bala manyi g'omubiri
gwo begabanga gasse nnyo wansi sira kuba ndowoozanga mu Bibiliya ne balyoka bagamba genda ku kikabo ekiti naye gwe kugamba nti oli positive n'odduka ku mudaala n'odduka mu pharmacy n'odduka mu clinic yonna nze mumpe empeke bweziti muzimpe ate n'abasawo olw'okuba twagala ssente
waliwo gwe banyemereza
era tuzikuwa
yavaayo mu ddwaliro yagenda neyeekebeza ne bamugamba ali positive n'agenda n'anyumizaako bannaawo baali mu kusaagasaaga bakuba olwali bamugamba ffe bye twabimanyira naffe tuwangalidde okudagala gwe genda ali mu mmotoka oggulewo olaba ekiruwu tandika okumira n'amira naye omusawo tamugambye lwakuba munne lyamira naye n'amira teyamalawo omwezi
nakkirira ekaganga balina kumala kukebera ne balakubateeka ku kika bwekiti kubanga okwewa eddagala lino eddagala tetumanyi oluusi mwe baalikola tetumanyi bbanga lirimazaawo tetumanyi mbeera yonna gye lirimu naye okulyewa oba tokoze kya buntu bulamu oba tokoze kya bugunju
ate n'emibiri gyaffe
gyanjawulo
eddagala erikola ku gwe terikola
terikola ku ffe ffenna kale tutuuke mu malwaliro tumale okulaba abasawo ate abasawo tubakwane fe abasawo tubaagala nnyo naye waliwo abasawo abamuffe bannaye abasawo bannaabwe tubeere bakisa eri abantu bano tubeere bakisa mulimu abasawo ab'ettima nga bo balina ddala ettima tafa ku muntu yenna amutunuulira jjukira omuntu ono azze gy'oli gwe omusawo azze ng'asuubira nti n'obulamu bwe buli mu ggwe gw'omusinga okumanya ku ekyo newankubadde guli mubiri gwe ate erudda tugamba abantu mwenna muli basawo naye waliwo obaali awo asukkulumyemu akatonotono kati nze bwe nzijeewo omusawo
oli mutendeke
bwe nzijeewo omusawo mba nkusuubiramu bingi gwe omusawo okumbudaabuda everything naye bwe nzija n'onkaayukalira kugamba awo ntandika n'okutandika okufuna kye bayita stress okweraliikire gye mbadde nsuubira akalungi ate bye nzijeeyo si birungi kale abasawo tubeere bakisa
eddagala balimpadde emmira yaalyo tugayaala oluusi which is also equally dangerous nakyo kyabulabe nnyo bagamba emira saawa bweziti nabweziti nogayaala nerikuyitako nogamba naamira enkya
biri ebintu bisatu ebireeta omwana Adamu obutawona mubiri mangu mulimu kye bayita obuligo bwe bukyafu obujama mulimu kye bayita obulagajjavu stroke obutafaayo mulimu ne kye bayita okunyooma biri ebintu bisatu obuligo oba obukyafu okunyooma obutafaayo n'okunyooma eziwa yasoma biki oyo mwana asobola okunsijanjaba oyo nga kampi nnyo katono nnyo bw'omala okunyooma ekintu haramu tekigenda kukukolera tera nnyo bagamba mukozesa obutungulu obubisi nga ennyaanya embisi nebbanga lyomala ng'obinyooma bino ebitungulu bya Dr. Ziwa bino era tebijja kukolera lwaki wabinyoomye dda naye once you believe in them bw'okkiriza mu Dr. Ziwa nti ajja kujjanjaba ajja kuwa amagezi wallahi ovaawo ng'oli bulungi ayinza n'okukwatako obukwasi bw'ati
gamba buli kimu kigenda na bwongo
kukkiriza in fact ku bantu bano nga tuli ku topiki yaffe ya HIV stroke AIDS obadde okimanyi mwannyinaze abantu bangi abakoze enzikiriza ez'enjawulo oli n'agenda mu ddwaliro ne bamuzuulamu omanyi n'ebyuma ebimu oluusi bibaamu gundi n'ogenda mu kyuma ne bagamba oli mulamu n'ogenda mu kirala ne bagamba toli mulamu kakati oli asobola okugenda okusinziira gy'ayitidde abaddeko n'abasajja ab'enjawulo abaddeko n'abakazi ab'enjawulo najja muli n'alowooza n'akiteeka mu bwongo ndabika ndi positive n'agenda wa musawo ne bamukebera in fact ne bazuula kubanga mu bwongo yakitwala nti ali ki positive ne bazuula nti ali positive omanyi kyakola ng'addayo ng'anoonya ewali pasita Ziwa nga pasita Ziwa gy'amusabira tolina kino wayita omwaka gumu n'agenda ne baddamu ne bamukebera ne bamuzuula nga teyalina kawuka n'avaawo n'agamba pasita Ziwa akola just okumusabira n'omuteeka mu bwongo n'omuteeka mu mood n'abulamu kiri kye twayise stress naba atalina stress omubiri gwe ne guddawo ebirungo by'omusaayi byonna ne biddamu bulungi n'abaawo n'aba n'obujulizi nagenda ba pasita Ziwa n'ansabire era
kati nga abayaliza kayina
ekyali mu bwongo
ate ekyali mu bwongo kikwalagana
ekyali mu bwongo nagambye siri mutatta naye kitta abantu stress ebbanga lye yamala nga atambula ayagala ono ayagala oli ayagala oli ne bagenda ne bamukebera gye balya ne bagenda ne bamukebera ne bamuzuula twagambye ebyuma ebimu oluusi birimu egundi etali ntuufu
kyova olaba olina okwekakasa ng'oddayo emirundi esatu
era tojjira wa mulundi gumu kakati olw'okuba mu bwongo ekyo yali asuubira era ekyuma oluusi ne kiraba ekyo
teyaddayo ye
yagenda bugenzi ne bamusabira kati bamusa n'agamba naawe obujulizi nti onaki naye tugezeeko ebyuma ebyenjawulo emirundi egy'enjawulo ekiseera ekyenjawulo ne tujja okusobola okuwangaaza obulamu bwaffe naye nga ye akawuka gye kali era bangi abagenze ekalannamu naye nga bw'oba okafunye calm down accept kkiriza bwekiti bwe kiri way forward eri etya kolagana n'abasawo kulya bulungi naddala ekyokulya ebyokulya
n'okwewala omunye ebyokwegatta kituufu
ekyo kikulu
oba obiviireko ddala
labayo atulaba omulungi.
Hello. Good morning. How are you, Nyabo?
Fine. Kariga mbate mbuuza. Kiva ku kyateeba abantu bato okukwatibwa obulwadde nga bali mu lubuto.
Okay.
Njagala tunyonyolerwa kibakwatira obulwadde ate n'abalala ne batakwatibwa kiva ku ki?
Okay, bubakwata ndoza bazaalibwa. Kale katsoka tufune aba.
During time, some doctors bakugamba don't breastfeed, others breastfeed.
Okay, abamu bakijja mu kuzaalibwawo abalala mu kuyonsa. Hello, tufune omulala. Children. Hello. Wanji sebo tukwaniriza nnyo. Oliko TV. Morning, how are you?
Fine, I'm disagreeing with that doctor there on the screen. Because now he's confusing people totally.
How?
Because he's saying some machines, once in a while they test positive, at another time they're testing negative.
Have you seen it before?
It has never and it will never. Because for us, what we know...
Are you a doctor?
I'm a LSA worker.
Okay.
We have the screening test kits. And those test kits are valid when they are not expired. They give us the real results. Now, I'm wondering, how is it that people that somebody who once tested positive can again one time go and they check him becomes negative?
Okay, we get your point. He's going to clarify on that. Okay, thanks for the call. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sebo tukwaniriza nnyo.
Basibye cyane nyawa.
Nsibye bulungi nasuze bulungi ate gwe sebo. Hello, tutwale simu nga 5 adde mulumu. Hello. Wanji nyabo tukwaniriza nnyo. Kale sebo nyabo.
Mbadde mbuuza. Dokita yo mumbuulize katungulu kimu omubisi kikyasobola okuyamba ku muntu.
Kikyasobola okuyamba ku muntu. Kale webale nnyo. Hello. Hello. Okay, tuke tudemu. Hello. Okay, tuke tudemu omwami ono ali concerned. Hello. Wanji nyabo.
Nebaza dokita okuyigiriza.
Wanji? Nkuwulira mukwano yogera. Okay, aliko TV wanajiva Canada mnakuzi.
Yeah, tusoko mwami oli health worker. Okola okunoonyereza, tetunoonyereza mu kitundu kyekimu. Tunoonyereza mu bitundu ebyenjawulo. Era tutwala obudde nga tunoonyereza. Kobere dokita noba ngoli confined mu kifo kimu. Oyinza obutamanya byerudda. Ne tutwala obudde nga tunoonyereza. Nze byenjogera wano bikolako okunoonyereza okumala.
Kisoboka
omuntu oli basobola omukebera ne bagamba nti ali positive
nga kyuma kye kirabye.
Ate ekyuma wano embeera tuyitadde ku kyuma. Waliwo ebyuma ebitali bituufu oba ogenze nga si watuufu. Kyetuvudde tugamba genda mu bitundu ebyenjawulo togenda wamu. ategende
kola emirundi esatu.
Tekola emirundi esatu. Point wetu webadde. Omulala ayogedde kukya okuzaala.
Kwegandoza yalabika kyalowooza kyagamba. Twasobola okukebera ne basanga ng'oli negative. N'ogende wala kawuka ekyuma ne kikalaba. Ye takkiriza mbu it can be the other way around. N'obeera positive ate ekyuma ekirala ne kisanga ng'oli negative.
Anyway, tujja kumuwa enamba yaffe y'essimu ayongere twongere okwogera.
Omukyala agamba abaana abato bo lwaki kisoboka kitya okuzaalibwa nga mulwadde?
Mu mbeera ey'okuzaala wano era kivula atukubiriza nnyo abakyala okugenda mu malwaliro naddala ng'ali HIV positive. Ogenda mu malwaliro kubanga mu mbeera ey'okuzaala wano mwana avaayo bw'ati awo bw'aba tazaalidde mu malwaliro agayina obuvunaanyizibwa agayina obukugu awo
naye nga munda
abeera fine.
Omwana asobola okufuna siriimu okuva mu bbeere kuyonka.
Mu kuyonsa sikinaako nnyo research ekyo naye nga tukubiriza ate abakyala bayonse abaana baabwe wadde ali positive.
Ate ng'omwana asurvivinze wali mu kuzaalibwa
okumala emyezi 6.
Katukomewo Dr. Ziwa katumulemu katono tujja kwata amasimu amalala mu kitundu ekyokusatu era ekisembayo tavaawo.
A day. That's why I've given him Data Soap's non-stop protection, which gives him 24 hours protection from germs. In the morning, when he faces germs. Afternoon, when he's up to mischief. Playing in the evening. Non-stop protection keeps going on and on.
Indeed, Dettol Soap's non-stop protection formula has the power of Dettol, which gives non-stop protection from germs for 24 hours.
All day and all night.
Mother's weapon for non-stop protection. Dettol, be 100% sure.
Effective Monday, 6 July, screening time for your favorite drama series, The Hostel, is Monday at 7:35 p.m. Behind Closed Doors will air Wednesday to Friday at 8:05 p.m. and repeats on Saturdays at 3 p.m. Brave Woman will be showing on Tuesdays and Wednesdays at 10 p.m. and repeats will air on Thursdays and Fridays at 11:30 a.m.
I've been preparing this for you for days. This surprise. Watch out.
Dad, someone's here.
I didn't really come to talk to you, Javier. It's Pilar I want to talk to. Have you got a minute? I came to offer you a job.
Okay. Kyali naffe ku NTV tugenda katukwogera ku nsonga ey'okwegatta kubanga ebise akawuka kayita mu bintu bingi naye ng'okusingira ddala mu nsonga z'okwegatta. Yes. Ati omuntu akasiddwa mbu alina akawuka kano era agende mu maaso ensonga ze z'okwegatta zitandikira wa zikomawo.
Tutera okugamba abantu nti omuntu olya kilo z'emmere 49 okufuna liita y'omusaayi emu.
Zemmere mu mwaka
oba oziridde ddi ne 49 kilograms of food nofuna 1 liter of blood.
Ko kiva omuntu okubanga alina omusaayi mutono mulala nga alina mungi.
Oba olyawo naye mu liita n'emu gye tufunye ey'omusaayi yevaamu amaanyi ag'ekikulu mu basajja ate kaba katono nnyo bwe kati akavaako. Bw'onooba oli HIV positive nga repeatedly wegatta nnyo. Juga tugambye olina okulya kilo meka? 49. Kyokka ate nga liita ey'emu ey'omusaayi bagenda gikolera mu nnaku 45. Naye n'omala geezannyisa gadda wano gadda wali
okendeeza ku maanyi go,
okendeeza ku bwerenzi bw'omubiri gwo, era kino kijja kuviiramu okukkirira ekalannamu. Tugamba tewegatta nnyo, beera ne mukyalawo, beera n'omwami wo, kikusobozesa okuwangaala obulungi kubanga tulina okukuuma abaana baffe.
bw'obeera naye nga mukozesa akapiira oba ne bwe mugenda live mwembi mwekakasiza nti muli baradi?
Actually ekyokukozesa akapiira kyekisingako kyekisingako obulungi okusinga
buli omu naaba nga tasiiga munne kake. Waliyo obuko obw'enjawulo bw'akawuka kano, ebika byanjawulo?
Ebbanga ly'omaze nako n'obwerinzi bw'omubiri gwo naye ng'akawuka kali kamu.
Kisinzira ku bungi bwako.
Bungi bwako then n'omusaayi na biki by'oli actually. Kubanga twagambye nga tutandika ti byonna tubisaamingira tubiteeka mu kintu ekiyitwa immune system. Ebbanga ly'onaamala ng'olinyisiza immune system yo ng'erinnya eri waggulu, toyina stress, toyina kweraliikirira, ojja kuwangaala bulungi ng'ate kyetwagala. Bino byonna bye tukola, tukuwadde empeke, tukuwadde biki kwongera bwerinzi bwa mubiri gwo. Actually babaddewo yabadde abuuza ekya garlic.
Okay, katungulu kyuma osobola okukalyanga kabisi?
Katungulu kyuma osobola okukalyanga kabisi, ye osobola okukalyanga kabisi.
Ne kayamba ki?
Naye ate ku nsonga eno bagamba obanga okozesa ARVs tokozesa garlic. Ekiba kyogera. Naye lwaki bakyogera? Era kyekimu n'amanda. Amanda ne garlic birimu amaanyi ge tuyita adsorbent. Adsorbent ge maanyi nga bw'onaateeka onaalaba amazzi nga gali ewantu katugambe mu nnyumba yo, n'oleeta ekisimule kya cotton n'okiteeka mu booti weppa nekinyunyunta amazzi gali. Boddira garlic ng'okozesa ARVs n'omuteeka mu mubiri gwo, amaanyi ga ARVs gakendeera. Kagamba garlic anyunyuntira ddala buli kimu n'akinyunyunta n'akiteekamu.
Amaanyi ga ARVs
gakendeera kyova bagamba tokozesa garlic na ARVs.
Katungulu kyumu ye garlic. Bw'oba omira ARVs eddagala erikendeeza akawuka ako amaanyi, tomira garlic n'omuteekamu oba siteekamu?
Anti na garlic.
Tumwesonyiwe ne wakati mugobewo. Okay, waliwo batugamba abantu bano abesanga mu mbeera nga yegasse n'omuntu akawuka kano kalina ebbanga lyekamala negase n'omuntu ng'alina akawuka. Balina essaawa zibakuwanga oba olinamu eddagala ly'omiriddemu mu kiseera ekyo akawuka kano katandika.
Ebbanga eryo weeriri naye batugamba too much analysis leads to paralysis. Too much analysis leads to paralysis. Lwaki era tuneonyaawo time nti time eri bweti ne bweti.
Anti kwa bawo abantu ne wesanga mu state nga bakurepinze. Omusajja akurepinze tomuyinaako gundi.
Malwaliragamu enkola eyo gyeri odduka mu ddwaliro mangu ne bamala okukebera. Ate temulowooza nti sirimu yekkayika n'ebirala n'endwadde endala nnyingi. Bwe baba bakurepinze bwetu bweppa run ddukirawo mangu ku ddwaliro ly'omanye eriyina obusobozi.
Awo bakkebera awo bakuwa buwa eddagala just in case wekaba mwekali too bad eddagala litaasako kate kabalimu even better.
Anti kijja kusinziira ku musawo kikyazudde kubanga ogwo omwewadde omusawo omwewadde omubuulidde yonna embeera eyabaddewo kirekera omusawo naye okukebera kyekisingako obulungi tukakasiza eddala kiki yagize siri babadde n'endwadde endala
kirekera omusawo. Akawuka kano katandika okweyoleka mu mubiri gwange ekyuma kiryoke kitandike okadetectinga nga wayiseewo bbanga ki?
Kino kyennyini kye twayogedde mu kusooka nti byonna bidipendika ku kulwanyisa ku maanyi g'omubiri gwo. Waliwo bekeeyolekera kyetwavudde tugamba nti abantu ojja kusingaana oli amala emyezi 6 afe, omulala amale omwaka gumu afe, omulala amale emyaka emeka afe. Wabula ki kyoba olina okukola mukadde waffe mwannyinaffe ali eyo? Always kuba n'abasawo bo beeyanjulire beeyabize banoonyereze bakuwe guidelines.
Okay. Babiera najagamba omuntu bw'aba n'akawuka naye nga tamira ddagala lya ARVs kyokka ng'alya bulungi abaawo.
Era naye tumuwa amagezi okusooka okugenda kuba twagambye okuwa empeke za ARVs bamala kukukebera balabe kyetaagisa oba tekyetaagisa. bwe kiba tekyetaagisa era ojja kugenda bajja kugamba bajja kuwa guidance genda okole kino na kino na kino na kino. Empekeza ARVs oba okuteeka ku mpekezo no base train tebazuukuka buzuukusi from a night bamala kukukebera ne batwala obudde ne bakebera nti yeetaaga oba teyeetaaga naye tobeere eyo mwannyinaze noganze bankebera nkalina kati kankatandika okukozesa kino oba kino oba kino naye nga byonna kulinnyisa immune system bwerinzi bwa mubiri gwo. Obwerinzi bwa mubiri gwo tubulinnyisa nakulya bulungi nakulya bintu ebiyamba omubiri gwo. Mu bintu ebiyamba omubiri gwo mwemuli ebintu byonna ebirina red color. Red color muno mulimu beetroot. Beetroot bwe muba temumanyi nakasero gyali mungi. Mu bintu ebirinnyisa obwerinzi bwa mubiri gwo mwemuli ebintu byonna ebya kiragala. Chlorophyll alinnyisa nnyo obwerinzi bw'omubiri gwo. Mwemuli okunywa amazzi. Mwemuli ebirowoozo ebirungi. Mwemuli obutakifaako nti nze ndi kino era ngenda kufa n'otatunuza ndali nga bwe twagambye. Obwerinzi bw'omubiri gwo bujja kubeera waggulu owangaale ku nsi kuno ng'okola emirimu gyo bulungi era bagambe nti Faridaka nti gundi kamuyoola
nange kasobola okunjoola
ate goli moto.
Okay, Shanila Farida Najjomba agamba bwe mba nkalina nsobola nti obutasiiga partner wange.
Asante methods ziri nnyingi nnyo naddala okukozesa okwambala okwambala ne weekuuma ekyo kijja kubanga kikuyambako obutasiiga muno. Yensonga yokka ndowooza tewaliiwo nnyo gundi ndala kubanga tukimanyi twakitegedde nti okukafuna ebiseera ebisinga obungi kava mu kwegatta pozi n'oluusi okukyusa emisaayi naye nkakasa tewaliiyo musawo asobola kukyusa musaayi n'aguteeka ku mulala ng'omusaayi ogwo tebamaze kugwekenneenya naye nga wasinga okuyita weewali pozi ne thrush omuntu abanga ayina amabwa n'aleeta ku munne ate nga ne munne naye ayina
ate mu accident
yes ne mu accident
mufunye obuvune emisaayi gyetabuddeawo mu kabuvuŋŋano
okuyitamu naye nga point kulinnyisa bwerinzi bwa mubiri gwo obeere n'amaanyi.
Karimu Mwesigye abuuza lwaki abasajja abatayirire si kyangu okufuna kawuka ntangazaamu.
Abasajja abatali batayirire balina ebiwujjo babeera n'ebiwujjo. Ekiwujjo ekyo kibeera kiprotectinze wali eri ku mutwe. Mu mbeera ey'okwegatta ekiwujjo kiri nga bw'olaba omumwago singa otunula wano bwe watuwona kati cells zaawo nafu nnyo. Kati balyambala nga ekiwujjo kibikkuse mu mbeera eyo akantu kyangu nnyo akawuka kakuyingira mu kuba kabeera kutambulira omwo. So kyeva tugamba nti ogenda for circumcision kya makulu nnyo era kyova olaba Uganda Ministry of Health kyasalibwawo buli musajja yenna azaalibwa mu Uganda abeere nga bamutayirira nga bwolaba ne Rwanda bwe kiri.
Naye nga ekyo tekitegeeza mbu gwe omutayirire tofuna kawuka. Kikendeeza bukendeeza ku mikisa gyo egy'okufuna akawuka ako ekyabamu kye batamanyi. Nsobola okwegatta n'omuntu oyo Mpima Alex yabuuza nsobola okwegatta n'omuntu alina akawuka kamukenenya nze ne katankwata wadde nga sikozeseza kapiira
bangi
ye bwe kankwata nsobola kumala bbanga ky'okumanya nti nkalina singa mba seekeberezaawo.
Bangi nnyo nnyini ddala abali HIV positive
nga
tebamanyi towa amagezi ogenda bekebeze bakakase.
Engeri yokka gy'oyinza okumanya bw'olina akawuka kwekebeza
kyekyoka
ngewoddukana n'okola kibyonna naye nga twekebeza gutoddawo n'washuminga nze
anti jjuka twagambye Farida tutandika nti AIDS kitegeeza bubonero naye si buli alina AIDS ti alina HIV positive. Obubonero mwe muli okuddukana mwe muli okusesema mwe muli okukendeera oyo AIDS naye si HIV positive. AIDS buli omu amuyina nange bukeera ku makya nina AIDS musujja gunkutte nzirukana embeera eyo ndi munafu oyo AIDS.
Abalala bagala tosobola kubeera na AIDS nga toli HIV.
Bakikwata bubi AIDS kitegeeza symptom bubonero ate mu bubonero bwa HIV positive era bino byonna mwebiri era abamu batuuka n'otugamba AIDS yaliwo myaka gyonna obubonero bwaliwo obulaga omuntu nti mulwadde kubanga HIV positive talina kipya kyaleeta kitabangawo.
Oli bw'amira atripula omumanyi oyo?
I'm green about that.
Atripula nange simumanyi nnyo.
By the way,
ng'alina ne allergy contents ki mu ddagala ly'atalina kumira. Kontesa eddagala ebyo bimanyi nnyo.
Nze ndi naturopathic therapist, ndi musawo wa butonde, ajjanjabisa obutonde. Siri babayita ba medical. Aba medical doctors.
Bwana bafa ab'ekizungu.
Abajjanjabisa ekizungu. Si bazungu naye abajjanjabisa ekizungu siri. Kati atripula birabika biri eri mu mbeera eyo. Nze ndi musawo ajjanjabisa.
Kika ddagala. Okay, Fred Kayaga owakabyaga njagala kumanya kunzijanjaba y'akawuka bagamba nti wesimira ddagala mu budde kirina kye kinkosa.
Ekyo kiteeka okuba kituufu kikakafu kubanga omusawo yagambye empeke zino zimire emu emirundi ebiri. Gwe noomira emu mu nnaku bbiri. Of course kiba kirina obuzibu. Ne bwe tubeera eno mu ddiini eryaffe eddagala ly'obutonde tukugamba tukuwadde nywa ebijiiko 3 emirundi 4, gwe noonywa ebijiiko oba 5 emirundi 4 nofuna obuzibu. Kati eddagala tulikozese ng'abasawo bwe baba batulagidde.
Okay. Njagala kumanya bwe mmizisa ARVs n'amata mba ku mulamwa oba mba nnyonoonye kuba bagamba nti amata tegakolagana na makerenda. Oyo Nim Rogers.
Gonga amata ku lwago si malungi eri obulamu bw'omuntu. Amata si malungi eri obulamu bw'omuntu.
Si mata gonna ebika by'amata ebimu.
Very nice. Natambulanga oli muyizi mulungi. Amata g'ebisolo okusinza ku kumanya kwaffe si malungi eri obulamu bw'omuntu. Kati ate ogamizisa empeke.
Ziba zifudde.
Wangi?
Ziba zifudde. Waliwo oli ng'ayagala nnyo amata ge. Wadde ng'omugami nti malungi naye nga yiga mukolera agaagala. Naye ng'alina okumera eddagala. Ayisaawo bbanga ki? Ndowooza awo tuba tumutangaza kuwona zalaika ayagala nnyo.
Ayisaawo bbanga ki? Okunywa amata ge. Okunywa amata ge. Lwaki ndagirira abantu ekintu kyesibagaliza kukozesa.
Kale we gaba ga soya.
Bwe gaba ga soya. Tewali tabbu ayiseewo essaawa ze nga 2 abeere nga
amira eddagala lye. Okay, obudde bulabika butuweddeyo. Mwebali nnyo kubeera abalabi abalungi aba programu mwasize mutya. Enkya lubeera lwakusatu tubeera ne Ssenga katuyiye kiki kyagenda kusomesako olwo. Dr. Ziwa twesiimye nnyo.
Amina
kosa nsobi kize tukola abalwadde basirimu.
Ensobi ze mukola obutamirira ddagala mu budde okulowooza nti ogenda kufa enkya obutatuukirira obutakwata amateeka g'abasawo biragiro by'abasawo. Ezo nsobi ekirala mukoleko ku exercise. Mulye bulungi mulabe nga mufuluma na bulungi. Muli balabi balungi. Yenze Dr. Ziwa mubeere bulungi.
Okay, mulye bulungi nnyo goberera ebiragiro by'abasawo. Toddaawo n'olowooza mbu lwakuba okoze oba akantu kakkubye wano mbugwe olina siriimu tumumanya nga tuyita mu ngeri egi. Genda weekebeze. Bw'otegeera togenda ng'osiiga banno tolina kyofunamu okusiiga ono n'ono kubanga gwe akawuka kakukwata. Mubeere bulungi. Nze Farida Nakazibwe. Bye bye.
Indeed, Dettol Soap's non-stop protection formula has the power of Dettol, which gives non-stop protection from germs for 24 hours. Dettol, be 100% sure.
NTV, turning on your world.
Stay closer for longer. 12 hours fresh breath with close-up deep action. Discover the new look of close-up deep action. Your refreshing close-up now in a new look.
Effective Monday, 6 July, screening time for your favorite drama series, The Hostel, is Monday at 7:35 p.m. Behind Closed Doors will air Wednesday to Friday at 8:05 p.m. and repeats on Saturdays at 3 p.m. Brave Woman will be showing on Tuesdays and Wednesdays at 10 p.m. and repeats will air on Thursdays and Fridays at 11:30 a.m.
Do you think I'm crazy? She will make the papads. I cannot believe it.
Huh? Oh, Santosh. So you think I'm crazy? I am mad? Listen, Santosh, whether you believe it or not, all these papads have not fallen from the sky. Huh? Listen, Santosh, Sandhya dear has really made all these papads by herself. I'll tell you one thing, Santosh. The papads she has made, you should get the credit for it.
This program is rated PG. It is suitable for children ages 8 and above, but parental guidance is advised as it might contain mild violence and mature situations.
Stars. From a distance, they seem so mysterious, so powerful, so perfect. You'd never guess they're really just big bloated balls of hot smelly gas. Unless, by some freaky twist of fate, you got close to one like I did. Because the star I'm talking about is an actor. An actor living in paradise. So rich, so pampered, so out of touch, he forgot what real life was like. Or maybe he never really knew.
Hey, Liz, what's up?
Time is up, Trey. Is he coming out or not?
It's not looking good. I mean, he's really depressed.
Why?
Come in. Park the negativity outside, and I'll show you why.
A fleece?
A black and white spotted fleece? I mean, one of your PAs was wearing this.
So what?
It reminds him of the girl that broke his heart, is so what? And now he's in there, and he can't think of anything else.
Trey, the director's furious. The weather's getting dicey, and the plane's been sitting on the runway, idling, for hours. It's his last skydiving shot, Trey. There must be something that I can do. Rex. Rex?
All he sees is Lola.
This is crazy, Trey. He has to work.
Then you tell him.
Rex, we are talking about your legacy. That's right. Your legacy. Compared to you, that Taco Bell dog is just a footnote in history.
I had no idea that bugged him. Let's get his tuxedo and his props on. Let's shoot this thing, buddy. Secret agent Tui Branson is ready for action. Liz, you're a miracle worker.
Thank you.
Camera set. D cameras good to go?
C&D cameras are ready.
But sometimes miracles can turn into nightmares.
Listen, it's his. We're close. We're close. We have to keep looking.
Trey, his hairpiece could have landed miles away from the rest of him. There are lakes and rivers all over this place. I'm sorry.
I was supposed to take care of him. I suck. I suck.